Welcome to Lamakaan. We are celebrating our 12th anniversary this year and we'd like you to enjoy this event. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Lamakaan, especially for those people who have come for the first time. Lamakaan is an open cultural space which is progressive, eco-friendly, and it also serves good memory for everybody. And we have been very thankful for donations, especially during the lockdown, and we'd encourage more because Lamakaan needs everybody's support. And now I'll hand over the event to Anand sir. Thank you.
I know that Lamakaan has reopened, but I haven't really been doing what I'm doing now, which is to compare an event that happens here. I would always be around here to introduce people, to get them to talk and so on and so forth. This is what I've always done. And the stories that I would tell about how Lamakaan started, what happened in the beginning, what happened subsequently, all of those things actually at this point of time seem kind of irrelevant. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. 2 years ago, around this time, we were celebrating the 10th anniversary of Lamakaan. We had planned a very long series of events, very intense, very political, very emotional, very creatively rich events, and all of them, every one of them was overshadowed by this vague fear of COVID. We had no idea what it was. We were seeing strange pictures of patients falling off on the streets in China. That's all we knew. We knew that there were cases in Cochin. We knew that there were cases coming up in Gurgaon. We knew that things were happening, but we don't know what that means. I remember in those days asking an auto rickshaw driver if he was using a sanitizer. And we were making sanitizer in our office, and I was distributing free sachets of sanitizer. And he said, "How मैंने सुना खून दही बन जाता नहीं?" This is exactly what he said. खून दही बन जाता है. And therefore, that's how people die. खून दही बन जाता है, इसलिए लोग मर जाते हैं. And I didn't know what that meant, right? What does it mean to say that blood coagulates and dies? Where did he get that image from? Is it scientifically true? Not? What was it, right? So slowly we began hearing very strange stories, very scary stories. And at the same time, people were also extremely skeptical. It didn't seem to matter to people at all. कि कुछ बोल रहे हैं लोग, does it really matter? धमका रहे हैं, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. These kinds of things. In the middle of all of that, suddenly we thought we were going to have a one-day lockdown. And that one-day lockdown turned into an indefinite lockdown. An indefinite lockdown then turned into even more horrifying stories that were coming from all around. And soon we realized that all our dreams were put on hold. People were not able to travel. PhD defenses were postponed. They could not come and attend them. We found that people were not able to get married. People were not able to travel abroad for their education. Everything in people's lives was put on hold. But at the same time, we also found that there were a lot of people who said that, look, we don't really care. We don't want to put our lives on hold just because somebody else wants us to put our lives on hold. We'll start walking. And we started literally seeing people saying that, हम नहीं बैठेंगे, निकल जाएंगे, रास्ता नापेंगे, we'll go, we will walk. And the way they walked was amazing. We realized very soon that all of those people who were walking knew exactly how to walk. They didn't have Google Maps. What they did was to catch hold of the nearest railway track, because they remembered the stations that they crossed when they came to Hyderabad, or they knew that they had to take the National Highway 7, because the National Highway 7 was the one that would go the longest distance. From there you branch off and you go to your hometown. We started discovering geographies of India in a way that we had never imagined. And then we started seeing very, very strange, sad stories of people telling us about them standing on the road, seeing what was happening, being very moved, and then starting to act. I remember one of my friends messaging from a place called Perkit near Nizamabad, saying that I'm standing here watching people walking by, and I'm talking to people, how are they walking, where are they going, who's giving them food, and I run into one man who says that I have been seeing all these kids walking on these hot roads without any footwear. So every day I go to a footwear shop, buy a whole bunch of kids footwear, come to the road, stand here and beg those kids literally ki pehan ke jao. Without these footwear, I will not let you walk on these roads. Right? People were doing that. People were organizing food, people were organizing trucks for people to travel, people were organizing. And then we found Sujata Surepalli organizing mobile phones for students. And then you found somebody else organizing laptops for students. And then you find, in a very short time, people running around for oxygen. How do you get oxygen? Where do you get oxygen from? Can you get industrial oxygen and supply it? Can you organize one cylinder and from one cylinder organize it for somebody else? And then you found people were running around for plasma. So it basically turned into a story of literally hundreds of people running around all the time, trying to collect information on phones, trying to organize, collate information, filling out spreadsheets. Everybody was doing something or the other. And in the middle of it, we began to hear stories about horrifying death. Horrifying death. I remember one of the WhatsApp groups that Sujata Surepalli organized, in which 11 o'clock in the night, we get a message from the US saying that my cousin is in a vehicle right outside the government hospital in Warangal. Can you please make sure that the person can be moved into the ward and be given oxygen? This is a doctor who has been helping us every day, 24 hours, available to us on WhatsApp, pleading with us now, please get my cousin into the ward, into the hospital. And an hour and a half later, the doctor sends out a message, a chilling message saying, forget it, it doesn't matter. It's over. And that's when I realized that we were having a completely new problem, because I felt burnt out. And I saw all of these young people around Raj constantly trying to organize oxygen, organize food, organize deliveries of babies, and failing every now and then and getting burnt out. And I was scared, how do you make sure that these people who are thinking that they can do something and failing, how will they even explain it to themselves? That burning that you get, that when you failed, when you're watching somebody die, knowing that you could possibly have helped and failing, what do you do with that? So, having been through all of that, in our own ward, right in the beginning, one of the things we did is to say that, look, there are going to be lots of people. Amjad Bhai would be here, and I really, really want him to tell that story. One of the things he told me when we first met was that I do catering, and when I do catering, I know that in every party, there will always be people at the back who will not come to the table and take the plates. They're too proud. They don't want to push in and take food. You will have to reach out to them, right? Which means that in every ward, every corner of the city, there were people who were hungry, and they were not going to tell us, they were not going to stand up and raise their hand and say, I'm hungry, give me something. It becomes our responsibility to go and look out for them, right? So in many ways, what the lockdown and the pandemic did for us was, number one, our body became our final boundary. Our body and our home became the sensorium through which we learnt about the world. We had to cross those boundaries. Every time you stepped out, you knew that you were crossing a boundary that meant the difference between life and death. That's what we were struggling with, right? And then, as we kept moving through this, we began to also realize that from education to food to oxygen to biochemistry, there was nothing that was untouched by this. Some things were untouched. We knew that one of the payments that was never stopped in all of this was payments for infrastructure. The entire infrastructure industry across the country received all payments immediately before the lockdown. Construction work of large infrastructure continued unabated. There were things that did not stop at all, even for one moment. And that's what is puzzling, right? Because people kept talking all the way through that this is a new situation. We are going to create new normals. We are discovering how important it is to create welfare, because we realize that the gap between being well-fed today and going hungry is just 3 days of no work. 1 week of no work and you're finished. You're going to start starving. That's the state of our welfare, right? We realized all of these kinds of things, and we thought that we will be able to push for new policy change. Some things happened, some things did not happen. But one thing that we are realizing now is that we are under a lot of pressure to forget all of this and move on. We are under pressure by ourselves because it feels like bad memories, we don't want to remember them anymore, let's move on. We also are under pressure because we have to meet the goals of growth, so we want to move on. We want to move on, we want to forget what happened, we don't want to remember all of those painful things and relive them. And what we thought is that as we come for the second anniversary after the first lockdown, we should try and use this as an opportunity to remember the things that we are likely to forget, to recall those things, right? And remembering that means not just our heroism, which we should celebrate and we have celebrated several times, but it is also about remembering our very humanness, the fact that we were standing there and terrified, the fact that there were patients sitting in hospitals crying out and saying, please do something for me. We knew that doctors were working 36 hours, 48 hours non-stop. We knew that that researchers who had not signed up for doing blood testing ended up doing testing in the hospitals. We knew that people who had not signed up for anything at all suddenly got conscripted to do things that they had not signed up for. So given all of that, I think it will be really, really useful for us to try and use this as an opportunity to remember, to tell ourselves stories of what happened. In some cities, people have begun to attempt actually memorializing all that had happened, right? In our city, we may begin to do that now after this event, but at least we should begin by telling ourselves what happened. So that's the main purpose of this meeting, and I'm not going to talk much longer. I'm just going to start asking one by one people I know did some very, very intense and interesting work, and I'm going to start with Azhar Bhai. Please, Azhar Bhai, come here. There are so many of them here, and I'm going to call one after the other. Take 7 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever length of time, but tell us what it was all about.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand, for giving me an opportunity. जो कुछ बोलना था सर ने सब बता दिया है. वो लॉकडाउन का पीरियड और उसके बाद फ्लड्स और उसके बाद जो कुछ हम लोगों ने देखा है, और मैं समझता हूँ कि हम में से तकरीबन लोग यहाँ पर वो हैं जिन्होंने एज ए फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर काम किया है और बहुत से लोगों को उस परेशानी से बचाया है. जब आप बता रहे थे तो जो चीज़ें मेरे जहन में आ रही थी मैं वो आप तक पहुँचा देना चाहूँगा. रियली जब फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन शुरू हुआ था तो जो पैनिक सिचुएशन लोगों में क्रिएट हुई थी, और शायद पर्पसली या क्या हुआ था मैं एग्जैक्टली उसको नहीं बता सकता, बट गवर्नमेंट ने जिस तरीके से उसको हैंडल किया था उसके हिसाब से अचानक लोग जो डर गए थे फीवर से और इस तरह के सिम्टम्स से. सो वही टाइम पे डॉक्टर हफ्सा से हमारी बात हुई एक्सेस फाउंडेशन की, और उन्होंने 40 डॉक्टर्स का एक पैनल बना करके एक मेडिकल हेल्पलाइन शुरू की थी सफ़ा के कोलैबोरेशन के साथ। तो हम जो कॉल्स वो टाइम रिसीव कर रहे थे, इतने लोग डरे हुए थे अपनी अपनी जो है ना बीमारी को बताने के लिए कि वो बिल्कुल अंदर रूम में जा कर के बात करते थे कि मुझे ये सिम्टम्स लग रहे हैं, और वो अपने घर वालों को तक बताने के लिए तैयार नहीं थे। उनको लगता था कि अगर किसी को पता चलेगा कि मुझे कोविड के सिम्टम्स है तो पुलिस आएगी, हंगामा होगा और हमारे पूरे एरिया को कंटोनमेंट जोन में जो है ना कन्वर्ट करेंगे और फिर हमको ऐसे ले जाएंगे जैसे हमने कोई बहुत बड़ी गलती की। तो वो पैनिक सिचुएशन से भी बहुत सारे लोगों ने हिम्मत तोड़ दी। उसके बाद और जब कुछ आगे बढ़े तो बहुत से रोमर्स ऐसे लोगों के बीच में फैलने लगे जिससे लोग और डर गए कि अगर हॉस्पिटल जाएंगे तो अच्छा आदमी भी वहाँ पर जाकर के बीमार हो जाएगा। इस टाइप के जो रोमर्स लोगों में फैलने लगे उससे भी लोग और पैनिक हो गए। और हमने फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन में नियरली 4000 पेशेंट्स का घर पे रख कर के इलाज किया था और उनका ट्रीटमेंट किया था। 40 डॉक्टर्स ने उसके लिए सपोर्ट किया था। सो 80% पेशेंट्स तो घर ही में हील हो रहे थे, ट्रीटमेंट उनका हो रहा था, लेकिन 20% को हॉस्पिटलाइज करना पड़ रहा था। बहुत से पेशेंट्स उसमें ऐसे थे जो हॉस्पिटल जाने के लिए रेडी नहीं थे। उनका ऑक्सीजन लेवल कंटिन्यूसली कम हो रहा था, 60 तक आ रहा था, 50 तक आ रहा था और बहुत सौ की डेथ हो गई, लेकिन वो हॉस्पिटल जाने के लिए रेडी नहीं हुए इस डर की वजह से कि हॉस्पिटल जाएंगे तो मर जाएंगे। हालांकि घर पे रह के भी वो अपने करीबी लोगों की जान नहीं बचा सके। सो ये सब वो पैनिक सिचुएशंस क्रिएट हुए। उसके बाद फिर जैसे आपने बताया कि ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर्स के लिए फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन में भी और सेकेंड लॉकडाउन में भी बहुत से इश्यूज़ हुए। हॉस्पिटल बेड के लिए रिकमेंडेशन का एक जो है ना एक वो हुआ कि हॉस्पिटल बेड चाहिए, किसका रिकमेंडेशन लगेगा, एमएलए का लगेगा, एमपी का लगेगा, और एक एक बेड के लिए लोग बहुत परेशान रहने लगे। और फिर उसके बाद ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर की को प्रोवाइड करना एक बहुत बड़ा इशू बन गया था। वो टाइम पे ब्लैक मार्केटिंग भी बहुत हो रही थी और ब्लैक मार्केटिंग की वजह से गवर्नमेंट भी थोड़ा सा लोगों को परेशान भी कर रही थी। ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को जो इस सेक्टर में काम कर रहे हैं, हम लोग को भी और सिलेंडर्स प्रोवाइड करना जब हमने स्टार्ट किया तो सडनली हमको रोकना पड़ा गवर्नमेंट के रिस्ट्रिक्शंस की वजह से। हमारे पास ड्रग लाइसेंस था मगर फिर भी ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर के लिए हमको मुश्किल हो रही थी। हमने 2-3 दिन रोक दिया, लेकिन ऐसे कॉल्स हमको रिसीव हो रहे थे कि बिल्कुल ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर की ज़रूरत है, हमें पूरी मार्केट में कहीं नहीं मिल रहा है, आप बिल्कुल प्रोवाइड कीजिए। हम नहीं कर पा रहे थे और फिर कॉल आ रहा था कि अब उनकी डेथ हो गई, वो इस दुनिया से चले गए। सो ये जो सिचुएशन थी जिसने फिर हमको इस बात के लिए इनकरेज किया कि जो होगा वो हम देखेंगे, लेकिन हम ऑक्सीजन ज़रूर प्रोवाइड करेंगे। ऑक्सीजन प्रोवाइड करने के लिए आज़म भाई यहाँ पर है, जिन्होंने पूरे हैदराबाद में ज़बरदस्त हॉस्पिटल्स में ऑक्सीजन प्रोवाइड करने के लिए बहुत अच्छा सपोर्ट किया। गांधी हॉस्पिटल में और अलग अलग हॉस्पिटल्स में आपने ऑक्सीजन का एक बेहतरीन चेन वो किया। किंगकोटी हॉस्पिटल के सुप्रिटेंडेंट यहाँ पर है, उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा सपोर्ट किया ऑक्सीजन को प्रोवाइड करने के लिए। तो ये ऑक्सीजन का फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन और सेकेंड लॉकडाउन में भी बहुत बैड एक्सपीरियंस हम लोगों ने देखा है। फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन में जैसे आपने बताया कि भूख की वजह से बहुत से लोग परेशान थे, तो गवर्नमेंट 500 या 1000 रुपीज़ कुछ प्रोवाइड कर रही थी। उसके लिए हमने देखा कि रात में 12 बजे से 1 बजे से लाइन में लोग बैठे हैं, औरतें बैठी हैं, लोग बैठे हैं, क्योंकि सुबह में 7 या 8 वो क्लॉक पे टोकन देना स्टार्ट करेंगे और लिमिटेड टोकन्स होंगे और जिनको टोकन मिलेगा सिर्फ उन्हीं को 500 रुपीज़ मिलेंगे। सो उस एक 500 रुपीज़ के लिए पूरी रात वो लोग रोड पे गुजार रहे थे। माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स का एक वन साइड तो एक प्रॉब्लम ये था कि वो लोग चलना उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था और फिर उसके बाद जब गवर्नमेंट थोड़ा सा एक्टिव हुई और उसने बसेस का अरेंजमेंट शुरू किया तो उसको टिकट बुक करने के लिए भी लोग अपनी फैमिली के साथ हमने देखा रात में 12-1 बजे से आकर के लाइन में ठहरे हुए, क्योंकि सुबह में आएंगे और उनके रजिस्टर में उनके नाम लिखेंगे और उनकी डिटेल्स वो लोग फिल करेंगे। सो ये सब इश्यूज से गुजरते हुए फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता सब चीज़ें नॉर्मल हुई और बहुत अच्छा है कि आज हम यहाँ पर एक साथ जुड़े हैं। और एक दूसरा बड़ा जो सिचुएशन हमने हैंडल किया है हैदराबाद के अंदर वो फ्लड्स का है। फ्लड्स ने भी हैदराबाद ने बहुत सी चीज़ों को बहुत से एरियाज़ में सफ़र किया है। फ्लड्स के अंदर भी आज़म भाई ने बहुत लीड किया, बहुत से ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को कोलैबोरेट करने में, और बहुत से ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने मिल करके एक अच्छा काम फ्लड्स के टाइम पर भी किया है। लॉकडाउन हो या फ्लड्स का टाइम हो, एक बात जो बहुत अच्छे से महसूस हुई वो कि बहुत सौ के दिल में दूसरों का दर्द था, दूसरों के लिए कुछ करने का जज्बा था, वो बहुत खुल करके बाहर आए। कई नई ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस इस्टेब्लिश हुई, बहुत से नए नए ग्रुप्स जो सिर्फ चाय पर और दावतों में एक दूसरे से मिलते थे, उन्होंने ये सोचा कि नहीं, अब सिर्फ दावतों पे मिलने का टाइम नहीं है, अब हमको मिल करके अपने एफर्ट्स को दूसरों को बेहतर बनाने के लिए यूज़ करना होगा। राइस के बैग्स हो या कुक फूड हो, या फ्लड्स के टाइम पे लोगों को हेल्प करना हो, ये सब हमारे लोकल वॉलंटियर्स ने और अलग अलग एरियाज़ के यूथ ने बहुत अच्छे से ये सब चीज़ों को हैंडल किया। मुझे वो रात याद है जब आधी रात को तकरीबन 1-2 बजे के बीच में बाबानगर के उस तालाब का बाउंड टूटा था और बहुत फ्लो के साथ पानी घरों की तरफ बह रहा था और बड़ी तेज़ी से ऑटोज़, कार्स, व्हीकल्स सब जा रहे थे और तकरीबन 14 फीट तक पानी घरों में था और वो इतना फ्लो के साथ पानी आ रहा था कि जान बचाना बहुत मुश्किल था। बहुत से यंग नौजवान बच्चों ने और यंगस्टर्स ने अपनी जान को जोखम में डालकर लोगों को घरों से बाहर निकाला, छतों पर ले आए और उनको सेफ़ जगह पर पहुंचाने में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी मदद की। तो ये सब वो टाइम होता है जब किसी की हुई कोई चीज़ हमेशा याद रह जाती है और वो फिर उनको इनकरेज करती है जो है ना आगे बढ़ने के लिए और दूसरों की हेल्प करने के लिए। और फिर उस फ्लड्स के बाद ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने मुख्तलिफ़ किस्म के काम स्टार्ट किए प्रोवाइड करना। तो वहाँ हमने फिर एक चीज़ महसूस की कि बहुत से आइटम्स ऐसे थे जो रिपीटेडली लोगों को दिए जा रहे थे। तो सफ़ा ने एक टोकन सिस्टम स्टार्ट किया कि लोगों के घर का सर्वे करते थे और हम लोग 5000 और 10,000 का टोकन्स उनको देते थे। और फिर हम लोगों ने उनके लिए 5 शॉपिंग मेलाज अरेंज किए थे, जिन शॉपिंग मेलाज में आकर के वो अपनी पसंद की और अपनी ज़रूरत की चीज़ ले सकते थे। 180 टाइप के अलग अलग आइटम्स थे जिसमें ग्रॉसरी थी, क्लोथ्स थे और जो उनकी ज़रूरत के हो सकते थे वो अपनी शौक़ से वहाँ से लेकर के जाते थे। वो हमारे लिए एक अच्छा समझने का मौका था कि क्योंकि हम डिज़ास्टर्स में अलग अलग एरियाज़ में काम करते हैं, लेकिन हैदराबाद में बहुत ज़्यादा क़रीब से हमने वो सब चीज़ों को देखा है और उन सब चीज़ों से ये महसूस हुआ है कि आज भी हमारे नौजवानों में वो जज्बा है कि वो अपनी जान से ज़्यादा दूसरों की ज़रूरत को पूरा करने को अपनी खुशी का ज़रिया महसूस करते हैं और उससे उनके दिल को इससे सेटिस्फैक्शन मिलता है। तो ये सब चीज़ों से हमारे लिए एक लर्निंग ये है कि सिचुएशन जब भी आएगी हम सबसे पहले अपने आप को आगे बढ़ाने की कोशिश करेंगे और अपने आप को दूसरों की हेल्प करने के लिए पेश करेंगे। ये हमने इन 2 सालों में हमारे यंग नौजवानों से और हमारे यंगस्टर से सीखा है और हम समझते हैं कि आइंदा ऐसी सिचुएशन ना आए, लेकिन अगर कभी कुछ हो तो हम सबसे पहले दूसरों का वेट करने के बजाय हम आगे बढ़कर दूसरों की हेल्प करने की कोशिश करें। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर अरेंजिंग दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन।
थैंक यू अज़हर भाई। 2-3 चीज़ें हैं। एक है कि इन 2 सालों में दोस्ती का एक अहमियत लोगों को जो समझ में आई है वो मैं नहीं समझता हूँ कि पहले कभी ऐसा हुआ है। याद है मुझे जब लॉकडाउन शुरू हुई तो मेरे कई सारे दोस्तों ने जो तब तक बहुत सारे लोगों को ब्लॉक करके रख दिए थे फेसबुक पे, उन्होंने कहा कि ये सारे ब्लॉक्स हम उठा देंगे। वी हेट दिस पीपल, we don't like them, we disagree with them politically, but today we are taking off these blocks because we need to be in touch with each other, right? And that was one very important moment. But I think also the other thing that happened was that regardless of that, a lot of the work that happened in this city was possible because of friendships. And I think that's one very important thing that we need to remember, that politically that was the energy. The state was not responding. It didn't have the capacity. Corporation did not have the capacity to do this. It was friendships among people that made this happen. We talked to each other. We said, let's try and get in touch with other people and do it, right? And the way in which these networks operated was just amazing. We remember in Hyderabad Urban Lab, Bhashwati will have literally dozens of stories to tell about this. Somebody makes a Facebook post saying 7 लोग हैं हम यहाँ पे भूखे हैं 1 हफ्ते से फ्रॉम सिद्दीक नगर इन हाईटेक सिटी एरिया। आसाम इसमें बोलते हैं। वो आसाम में कोई उस चीज़ को उठा के और किसी को टैग करते हैं दिल्ली में, दिल्ली से वो टैग होती है हैदराबाद सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी में किसी को, और वो हमें कांटेक्ट करके कहते हैं कि आप उनसे बात करके देखो। हम बात करके देखते हैं। बिकॉज वी हैड वन गर्ल हु स्पोक Assamese in our office, she calls them, speaks to them, and then calls back and says that it looks like it's not 7 people. I think there's 500 people behind that. That 500 in no time turns into 3,000 people. In 3,000 people, in no time turns into 30,000 people. It just was growing like that. In our own ward, I remember Siraj, who works with us, we said, देखो पता नहीं चलता है कौन भूखे हैं, तुमको याद रहेगा, तुमको समझ में आएगा क्योंकि वहाँ पे रहते हो, ढूंढो कौन भूखे बन जाएंगे अगले 2-3 दिन के अंदर। तो ही स्टार्टेड लुकिंग आउट कि दरगाह में बैठ के जो पैसा मांगते हुए बैठे रहते हैं वो कहाँ पे गए हैं, बिकॉज दरगाह में लोग नहीं आ रहे हैं, राइट। ही स्टार्ट्स गोइंग इन सर्च ऑफ देम। ही गोज टू द लेबर अड्डा एंड सेज लेबर अड्डा में जो लोग आते हैं वो लेबर अड्डा बंद हो गया है, डेली इनकम वाले हैं, ये कहाँ गए हैं, इनके साथ क्या हो रहा है। सड़क पे आइटनरेंट चाय वाले होते हैं, वो कहाँ गए हैं, बिकॉज चाय की दुकान बंद हो गई, वो कहाँ चले गए हैं, राइट। एंड यू स्टार्ट रियलाइजिंग दैट यू थिंक इट इज़ वन चाय वाला, टर्न्स आउट 7 chai walas, turns out 300 families behind him, 300 families turns out to be 10 different buildings in one area coming from places like Darbhanga, places like some Ara Jilla, some Baria Jilla, some other district of UP, Bihar, Assam, people trying to hide their names because they are scared that मुसलमान का नाम है, पता नहीं कौन पकड़ के ले जाएगा। All kinds of things. आधार कार्ड नहीं है, ऊपर से वहाँ से लेटर आया है, इन्फॉर्मेशन आया है कि आधार कार्ड अपलोड करो, ऐप डजंट वर्क। हाउ डू यू डील विद दिस थिंग, राइट। दिस वाज द काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन इन विच फ्रेंडशिप्स, दैट वाज ऑल दैट सॉ अस थ्रू। सो आई एम गोइंग टू नाउ आस्क आसिया जी to come and tell us a little bit more about how those friendships actually made things happen in continuation of what Azhar bhai was just telling us.
Thank you so much, Anant. Yeah, actually, like you said, I mean, we do weigh friendships that we know for wrong, but these were like long lost friends, and I don't know, friends long forgotten who actually came together. And I think mostly, I think like the floods, maybe I would like to speak about that. During the pandemic, like actually Azhar said, in continuation, I mean, a few of us do run NGOs who are close friends, and we did decide that instead of having, duplication of work, because most of us were working towards that, towards food and towards oxygen. So the idea was done, the SBM with Azhar is done, an excellent survey. So then we decided that let's each of us concentrate on one area, and we'll work on that, right? But having said that, we had a, what shall we say, a common flood relief center that had turned into later on road number 12 to a central place. So we had opened up, right? And this floods came out of nowhere. We were still struggling with pandemic, and the next thing you know, Hyderabad is inundated with floods. And that was completely unexpected. And this was not just people from, say, a lower economic background. These are people from good homes, right? And like again, he said, who don't want to reach out for help, or who feel, shall we say, maybe, embarrassed to ask out for help. But they were people like those who really need to be rescued from their homes. So I think overnight, it was, sorry, I'm getting a little, yeah, so the Yacht Club of Hyderabad, I think they quickly swung into action. We had around 20 boats that we took from low-lying area, Toli Choki and Cherapalli lakes, and about 1,000 people were rescued. And some of those people had homes in other parts of the cities that they could go to, but there's so many people who did not have homes. So the schools nearby opened up, So it was through a friend's friend who said, okay, I know friends who have schools nearby in these areas, and they will open up their assembly halls or classrooms where these people could at least spend a night, and the next day they could find better places to go to, right? And then having said that, the next we realized it was quite a continuous effort. It was not like, usually the water recedes in a day or two in Hyderabad and then you can go back to your home. But this stayed really longer than that. Right, so like Anant and Azhar described, it was 1 floor high water and was absolutely not showing any signs of receding. So the new things came up. And thanks to Facebook, really, when you think like Facebook is something that's mostly for young kids, but it really helped when you put up an appeal asking for donations and for volunteers. We were so shocked to see opening our office door, and we had these 250 kids who we've never met before, of all kind of ages, and really, I know one should not be judgmental and things, but me now reaching the age that I am, I usually look at teenagers and say, oh my God, these kids with their torn jeans, they're not going to go anywhere, These kids are not going to do anything. They're very self-centered kids. So that's what happens when you become a grandmom at 50. But these kids really surprised me. I tell you, you had these children working from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. in the night, and sometimes we even forget to serve them lunch. And then somebody just realized that Bundy there who serves it was fried rice, that's all. The kids were just having fried rice and they were back to work. And we had, and of course the donors, we were just flooded with donors. People were giving clothes. And mind you, these were all well, neatly ironed, almost sometimes new clothes. I mean, earlier we have faced problems, the kind of thing that people donate. But here, I think Hyderabad had totally opened up. I think the pandemic and then these floods. So we had all kind of donors. I mean, I'm not mentioning the larger donors, like you have corporate, you have Apollo Hospital. We even had Ratnadeep sending up napkins. But there are people from homes, you know. And what shall we say? I mean, you had these gated communities. So people there were actually, I mean, you know, telling everyone, no, we need to work. So people were collecting. So we had Villa Greens, we had My Home, which had lots of apartments. People were collecting, putting it all in a trolley and sending it to us. And a few of them where I had friends, you know, and I tell them we are sorting out. Then they said, no, okay, then give us one more day. They sat up in their old colonies. They helped us sort out. And everything came neatly packaged. So it made work so much easier. But still we thought it was quite a lot of work which could not be done alone. We had friends who had schools, like Future Kids schools. They sent their whole staff. We had Uday Hospital sending their staff. And we had these young kids again, sorting out clothes, putting them into packets. They were making it we had an assembly line kind of a thing where they were packaging. And then I think one thing that we realize now is that even women hygiene was very important. Though we were giving those, toiletry kits, we added sanitary napkins because we realized that's where the most ladies are affected. You will go out and buy a soap, you may not go out to buy a pair of sanitary napkins. So we started adding them all in all the ration kits that we were providing. And so that was really helpful, and the ladies were, you know, very happy that that was something that no one ever thought of. And still considered, we realize how much of a taboo it is in most homes. But again, I think, bring the human face of it, these children are what really, really moved me, you know. I mean, organizations, that's what we do. In all calamity, we come together, we strategize, and we work. But to see these children keep working, and sometimes in the end of the day, it was like almost, you know, then they're singing songs, and then you're working, and sometimes somebody remarked that, oh my God, there's a calamity out there, and you have kids singing here. And then I said, no, but just see, these are children who can find a silver lining in every dark situation. And then when you recall, that's how old our farmers and laborers worked, right? When you're doing work of labor, you sing. You sing to make it feel lighter and to make work easier. It's not that it's not a matter of enjoyment or you're laughing at somebody else's predicament. You're making your own labor lighter. And like Anand said, these are things which were affecting us all. Things and memories that you would like to forget, you know. So it's not living in denial. It's just making just that period, making it easier and making it better so that you can go. You know, it's not, I don't think it's denial. It's just like making the most of that moment. And I wish we could have invited all those children because they will always be there. And I think we owe a lot to those kids, you know, who made our work lighter and easier, and we could never have been able to do. When if others say we distributed so many kits to so many houses, thousands of kits being rolled out every day, we could not have done it without any of the single 250 volunteers. We had volunteers from groups called Youngistan to a group of elderly people from a group called Dobara. You know, so we had these 15, 12-year-olds, and we had almost 70, 75-year-olds, people giving in kind, in cash, and their time. And I really think time is what is actually when we, you know, really, the most undervalued thing. Somebody says, if I give you a check, I have done my job. But it's giving time. And when kids went, and then second, third day, we decided these kids are helping us in the situation, helping us pack. But maybe they should actually go and see where these kids are going. So then we started making groups of children and asked them to accompany Azhar and his team, so that actually they could see where their effort is being going, who is the recipient of these kit bags that they are making. And that actually really changed the kids, you know. See, because you're hearing this and you're there to help. So you already have this feeling of compassion in your heart. But I think actually seeing it on ground did change them. And I'm sure it made them better people, better persons. And they came back with more zeal. And when they came back and told the friends the stories of what they saw, then we had more and more kids who now wanted to be on ground, you know. So we had very few volunteers now left for making kits. Everyone wanted to help and, you know, just help distribute. I think that, because then they really felt close. You're actually doing it, you know. You can see somebody and the smile that you get when you help someone out. I think that really helped, and maybe those are memories that they'll take back. if not the suffering they saw in pandemic, but also the smiles that they saw, they received when they were handing out kit and helping each other. And the other thing I felt, it did not come, sometimes when you give, it comes from a feeling of superiority that I am giving, right? I think this is what was very fortunately missing in these kids. They were lending out a helping hand to help pull someone up, and not because they were in a higher or a better position. And that is what really touched, I think, our hearts and the lives of others. Thank you.
Thank you, Asya ji. I still remember one young man. His name was Shankar. Shankar called me from Hyderabad and said, I hear that thousands of people are walking by Medchal. I want to come and make food for them because I know how to cook. I said, Hyderabad se आओगे कैसे? It's lockdown, right? Don't worry, मैं आ जाता हूँ. A few hours later, he was walking from Hyderabad to Hyderabad. He was on his way. He literally walked 70 kilometers and then somehow managed to find some vehicle which was going by, got a ride for a few more kilometers, but reached overnight. He started in the night, reached by morning at Medchal, and from then on, constant non-stop cooking. That's all they did for days and days and days. So lots of interesting moving stories like this, but it was also a time when I think people learnt a lot of very ordinary things. Like, how do you make a ration kit? What should you put in it? Should you put a sanitary napkin in it? Should you put a chai ki patti in it? Should you put sugar, ginger, coffee? What is the right thing to put, right? Should you put some vegetables in it? How long will those vegetables last? After you give that cylinder, I remember one instance where we got a photograph from a place where people said, we don't want anything, please give us money to buy Nutri-Nuggets. चावल हम ला लेते हैं कहीं से भी, Nutri-Nuggets या potatoes, दोनों में से कोई भी एक चीज़ हमको दिला दो, हम खाना बना लेंगे, right? Now from one apartment, they sent us a photograph. A man and a woman, very young people, sitting there on the floor with 2 bags of potatoes in front of them, and we thought they were sending that picture as a matter of saying thank you. And then after a while, the person who sent it was expecting a response from us. We said, what? He said, आप नहीं समझ रहे हैं, इनके पास गैस नहीं है. आप इनको गैस दिलाओ तो वो खाना बना लेंगे, नहीं तो क्या करेंगे, right? So now you have to organize gas for them to be able to eat, because otherwise what do you do, right? This is what we learned, that to make a home run, it takes so many minute details, and in the end, actually one of the things that worked very well is that whatever you do, however careful you are, you will never be able to make the packet that that person needs, and therefore maybe the best way to handle this is to pay money to the nearest kirana store and say कि भाई आप वहाँ पे जाके जो सामान चाहिए वहाँ से ले लो, हमने वहाँ पे पेमेंट कर दिए. Right? Now how do you organize a massive operation like that? And right here is Khalid bhai. I'm just going to ask him to come and tell us what that story is.
Good evening all. Necessity is a mother of all inventions. So that's the answer. जब पहला लॉकडाउन हुआ तो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये था कि हमारे पास स्टॉक है, राशन किट बने हुए हैं, लेकिन पुलिस हमें अलाउ नहीं कर रही है जाने के लिए. अगर हम एक जगह लेके जाते भी हैं तो वहाँ पे लोग आ जाते हैं विच इज़ नॉट अलाउड, अगेन वहाँ पे स्प्रेड होने के चांसेस होते हैं. एंड सो मी एंड आजम भाई स्टार्टेड पुटिंग डाउन ऑल द प्रॉब्लम्स के. सबसे प्रॉब्लम क्या है? ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ गुड्स इज़ वन प्रॉब्लम. अगर लेके जाएंगे तो वहाँ पे सप्लाई नहीं कर सकते हैं. एक बार ये भी हुआ कि नीलोफर के सामने मैं जाके कुछ दे रहा था और पुलिस गाड़ी को लेके चले गई, फिर अमजद भाई को आके मुझे वहाँ से निकालना पड़ा. तो द थर्ड प्रॉब्लम वाज कि ऐसे लोग हैं जो दे फील एम्बैरस्ड टू आस्क. घर में खाना नहीं है लेकिन अभी तक किसी से मांगा नहीं है, किसी से पूछ नहीं सकते हैं. सो हाउ शुड दे कैन गेट a platform, a method where they can directly ask us. So what we found, we have been doing this for multinational companies. We are good at टेक्नोलॉजी, वी सेड के एक टोल फ्री नंबर हम लोग ले लेते हैं और एक मोबाइल ऐप हम लोग बना देते हैं. सो दैट वाज द स्टार्ट ऑफ फ्री राशन ऐप. किसी को भी राशन की ज़रूरत है, देन दे कैन जस्ट कॉल ऑल टोल फ्री नंबर. We'll ask them where they live, and then we'll see how we can send the ration kit to them. So जब और हम लोगों ने ऐप लॉन्च कर दिया, फ्री राशन ऐप. वी आर आस्किंग फॉर आधार कार्ड. द ओनली पर्पज वी आर आस्किंग फॉर आधार कार्ड इज़ टू नो देयर एड्रेस. सो कोई भी जब एप्लीकेशन फिल करते हैं फ्री राशन में, विल नो फ्रॉम वेयर दे आर अप्लाइंग, बिकॉज वी कैप्चर द लैटिट्यूड एंड लॉन्गिट्यूड. With that latitude and longitude, we'll identify the nearest kirana merchant located from that particular person's household. Then we'll talk to the kirana merchant and कहते हैं कि उनके अकाउंट में हम लोग 700 रुपीज़ का अमाउंट ट्रांसफ़र कर देते हैं. फिर एक मैसेज चले जाता है जो अप्लाई करते हैं फ्री राशन ऐप में, उनको कहते हैं कि द अमाउंट हैज़ बीन पेड, गो एंड कलेक्ट वॉट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू कलेक्ट फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर शॉप. So when we started this, we had a toll-free number because we wanted every call to get recorded and a number of people parallelly can attend calls. So immediately the story was covered by Times Now. आज़म भाई की मेरी एक story थी. The moment it was covered in Times Now, we were getting about 10 calls per minute. 10,000 calls approximately per day. So we didn't had any way कि how we can handle these calls. जो हमारा टेलीकॉलर का इनबाउंड जो सेटअप था, इट कैन हैंडल ओनली 10 पर्सन्स एट द सेम टाइम. वी कॉन्ट स्केल मोर दैन दैट. सो वी हैड चेंज दैट इनकमिंग टू मिस कॉल numbers, and whatever missed call numbers what we got, again we were calling them and finding them. So approximately we got about 70,000 requests from all over India. And alhamdulillah, about 19,000 requests we were able to fulfill. So within a month from Assam to Kanyakumari, there were a number of stories. Single mother who, they were some film artists, everybody, they were mailing them or they were calling us. There were many people who were calling and asking them कि हमें खाना तो मैनेज कर लेंगे, बच्चों के लिए मेडिसिन के लिए पैसे चाहिए. Can you also do it for medicine? So we find out कि मेडिसिन हम लोग कैसा उनको प्रोवाइड करते हैं. So I should thank my donors, and also जब we didn't had callers to receive calls. Extended family, Mary, Azam Bhai, everybody, they became these telecalling executives. So we started giving their numbers. Ramzan bhi tha, we were telling ke daily 2 घंटे 3 घंटे आप दीजिए. Then we routed the numbers, calls to their numbers. They were receiving calls, and the kind of feedback what we received from the family members, that those calls really changed them as a person. कोई नहीं सोचा था कि राशन ख़त्म हो जाएगा और किसी को कॉल करना पड़ेगा. So we did that in free ration app, and also I should thank the team. 2-3 घंटे के लिए शॉप ओपन होते थे किराना के. We had promised that we will give ration to 2,000 people. So सुबह में सहरी के बाद जो हमारी टीम उठती थी, then each person they have to manage about 15-20 people कि उन्हें कॉल करना है, शॉप वाले को कहना है, शॉप वाला भी 2 घंटे के विंडो में 10 कस्टमर्स को देगा और फिर दूसरों को देना है, एंड देन उनके पास भी स्टॉक नहीं रहता है. सो वी हैव टू टॉक देम एंड एंश्योर कि एक दिन पहले कि किट्स क्या आपने बनाए हैं. सो इट वाज अ वेरी गुड लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस. When we were doing free ration distribution with IPAC team, तब एक लड़का मुझे मिला था who was working as a मेस्त्री. But I realized he has good speaking skills. I said, काम कैसा नहीं है, will you receive calls? So he didn't know how to log a ticket, but he just know how to transfer money in Google Pay. So he was the best performer. He was receiving calls, he was talking to people, he convinced Kirana merchant, and then he was doing a far good job than others were doing. And I should also thank Rajbhai, who is here. I think he liked an idea and he shared it with Vijay Devarakonda, the same idea, and they called me to their office. I explained them how we are using the technology, how we are giving the amount to the Kirana merchant, and I think they used the same strategy, and they had helped more than, I believe, 30,000 families. So 35,000 families received ration with the technology. So thanks for that. Then the next thing what we did was in the second wave, it was free. The people were struggling for oxygen. Amjad bhai will tell more about hospitals. I want to talk about an app what we did. One thing what we did as other NGOs did was we bought oxygen cylinders. We ensured the oxygen cylinders would be at the different locations, and we use the same toll-free number which we are good at. The people call us, and then we identify where they need oxygen, and then we were supplying the oxygen cylinders. The responsibility of getting it refilled was with Amjad bhai. That was the toughest job. Our job was easy, just to identify patient के उन्हें oxygen cylinder भेजना है, अगर fill होना है तो अमजद भाई को पूछ लो. But जो लोग ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर के लिए किसी एनजीओ के पास जाते हैं, we felt 70-80% of chances are there कि उनकी नीड फुलफिल हो जाती है. But what for those who were not able to reach to any NGO? So then we thought and we wrote a program on Twitter. Anybody in India post in Twitter that I need oxygen and this is my mobile number. So our program would search for 2 words, oxygen and a 10-digit number. If they find these 2 things in those tweet, whoever has tweeted in India, that comes to our database. So immediately we'll call, आप कहाँ से बात कर रहे हैं? त्रिवेंद्रपुरम से बात कर रहे हैं. You need an oxygen, yes. So we'll try to identify if there are any NGOs working in that area who can provide oxygen. If we find NGOs, we are trying to talk to those NGOs and seeing the need was fulfilled. If you are not finding NGOs, oxygen में सबसे बड़ा problem ये था, the private distributors were asking for 20,000 rupees of deposits, which at that point of time was very tough for the people. So we said, we are SBIF, see our website, we have done these apps. So we are negotiating with those distributors, and in some cases paying them advance amount and ensuring that the person would get oxygen in time. So Yahoo covered the story, many other media houses covered the story, and alhamdulillah we were able to help about 3,000-4,000 families with providing oxygen. So at Social Data Initiative Forum, we believe our strength is data and also on technology. So we'll try to find out these kind of solutions to do social good. I thank you, thanks Azam bhai and others, all the people who are supported in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid bhai. With Khalid bhai mentioning Ramzan, I just remembered a very poignant moment last year. In the middle of Ramzan, I received a call asking for rations, and I say that कर देंगे, 1-2 दिन टाइम लगेगा. And the woman says that आज शाम से पहले हो जाएगा तो अच्छा रहेगा. And then that made my heart stop. She basically was going through fasting with no guarantee of food at the end of it. That's what it was. And she had children at home. So we just dropped everything that we were doing and in the next 2 hours made sure that food reached her home. But it was such a touch and go situation, right? If she hadn't been able to make that connection, and if I am generally very insensitive and stupid where I don't catch these nuances. I don't know how I made that connection on that day. कि ये बात है, right? If I had not made that connection, I'm scared to think of what would have happened in that house. Right? It's like that. And this is what we have been through all through the last 2 years. So I'm going to now ask Sujata Surapalli to come and tell us what she has done, because one of the things that I'm hearing in all the stories is that a lot of the initiatives started with friendships, with previously existing networks, previously existing politics, all of that. But they've also led to some really new interesting initiatives and new political formulations. And I think that Sujata Surapalli will have some really very important things to teach us about that.
Thank you, Anand. So, I think I must have called everybody here, Azharji, Amjad and everybody for help and knocking everybody's door. But I have other stories to share with all the stories of discrimination, stories of untouchable, stories of people living in the villages, and women who are, really, they were not in the list, If a man gets a COVID and she's supposed to serve, and nobody bothers to take her to a hospital, and I get an answer, उनको भी आ जाएगा मैडम, हमको आए तो उनको भी आएगा. But that's all, and she was not taken to hospital. And there were only few people who are relentlessly working during the lockdown, post-lockdown, with no pay, low pay, and compulsory work that gives them, one way is a discrimination, other way is food, of course. Those are municipal workers, those are sanitation workers in the hospitals, those are ASHA workers. And nobody was talking about these workers because they were taken granted. And all these women who have to go out in the peak lockdown moment, and people who are working in the hospitals, and the owners are asking them to vacate their houses because they are going to hospitals and coming to home again. And we were talking to doctors and talking to owners and everybody. Of course, I worked on these migrant laborers, arranging trains, arranging buses, arranging whatever form of travel. First work is on arranging for government school kids laptops and mobiles. So one day I was talking to my friend, and one friend was saying, I'm so busy that I'm monitoring my kids on the mobile. And then I happened to call in a remote village, and they say that we don't have any mobile, any device, and government is giving some TVs, TSAT lessons, and we don't have TVs, we don't have network, we don't have anything. So I was, to my shock, and all the marginalized children are in government schools, and most of them do not have any of these devices. Then I started with one of my friend teacher. Let us try. They say that कहाँ देता मैडम, notebooks के लिए पैसे नहीं देते लोग, मोबाइल कैसा देते. Then let us try. And we just tried, and that went to hundreds of mobiles distribution. I don't know how people giving, and I'm going. I never sat even a one day at home. I don't know what is lockdown, of course. Then from there, migrant labor stories, all you heard. And I remember these garment workers, girls from Jharkhand, they just came to work in the Gachibowli, Banjara Hills areas, and there's a lockdown. And there's no straight buses, straight trains, and only option is flight. Then I was just asking everybody, then it got clicked, and two of them first time flew in the in the flight, and some stories are like that. And second thing is, we were distributing oximeters. No, oximeters were not in my list, but some masks and some medicines. One day I happened to talk to an ASHA worker who says in her village she is not going to a Dalit Basti or where some minorities are there. She assumes that every day they go out for work and they are infected, and if I go and check them, and I'll also get it, so I'm not going there. Then I was very much shocked. Then I started mobilizing oximeters for them. Then later I saw in the caste structure in the village, those in the upper layer, they are not telling anybody, they are going out happily roaming and infecting because nobody can stop them. The lower levels, Dalits and other marginalized, they were completely locked in their vadas and bastis because of restrictions. And if they don't go out, then there is no food, no medicine, no hospital anyway. And people are, going and climbing trees and, sleeping in the bathrooms. I hope you remember all. Then no other way to the, and this is the only man I discuss what to do. Anant what to do, that there are many people and no food because no work, and nobody going to them because of the social stigma. And then we thought that, and this is the only disease, virus perhaps need good food, good rest, everything is good, which is, not possible for the working class. Then I thought, let's have some isolation centers. First time people used to drag people and put them in isolation. Second wave, no isolation centers. You be at your home, medicine will come, but nothing had happened. In that time, then I was searching for isolation centers. I was calling schools. I was calling, in the village there is only one place you have school. And government school is in the middle of the village. And if they know that all these Dalits and other nomadic tribes and marginalized people are coming, they are not giving. No permission. Then I have to talk to collectors, ministers to get things done. Only 2 places, 5 places I could do. And people were happy, we are giving dry foods and everything, oxygen and all that stuff. But gave me a lot of, things that everything is, you give it food, you give medicine and all that, fine. But you're giving food and medicine to whom? And what is the impact of lockdown on certain communities? So then we started looking at the statistics. And in Telangana especially, there's an increase of child labor, increase of child sexual abuse, increase of child marriages, increase of dropout rates. Then again we are running, I'm just coming from, the most remote areas of Amrabad. We were sleeping in the nights in the government schools every second Saturday and having a press meet because schools were almost closed. And post-lockdown, nobody is repairing toilets, no water, nothing. And where are these kids are going to go? So then we started working in the areas of these Dalits and marginalized children. That's how we started Dalit Women's Collective in Singareni slum in Hyderabad. And lots of stories to tell, maybe next visit of next talks in Lamakaan. Then we started with the support of Azhar, we started night schools. It's a very interesting program for women. And then we started learning centers because children totally forgot what they were learning. Now if you ask any government school going kid, 5th class kid, write small, maths and do a ABCD or any small sentence, they're not able to do that. So we started learning centers, and we also started, looking into various stories of these women and started documenting. So employment, education, empowerment, these 3 things we started, and we started working on those lines. Yeah, I'll stop here.
Thanks, Sujata. I think one of the most important lessons from what Sujata did during the lockdown was that this is actually an issue of solidarity. Because running these isolation centers, I remember a lot of people discouraged the idea of an isolation center or a quarantine, saying that ये मेडिकल मामला है, आपके पास इतनी कैपेसिटी नहीं है, आप नहीं कर सकेंगे, मत करो, ये प्रॉब्लम्स हो जाएंगे, आपको सर्वेलेंस का करना पड़ेगा, men and women together, you'll have risks, don't do this. Sujata was stuck on one thing. I don't care about the medical stuff. I know that these women need to eat decent food. I know that somebody has to check their oxygen levels 3 times a day. It is not happening at home. I will take up a school, I will put these women there, I will put these men there, and we will monitor this and we will make sure they get 2 eggs a day in the morning. That's what the isolation center basically meant. And that is a matter of saying that this center is a solidarity center. And it's exactly how that center actually worked, because what it did is to immediately change the caste equations in the village. Because people are now coming there, people are seeing that they're getting good food, then other people start coming up there, all kinds of processes begin in that place. And that's what I think is the most important lesson that we learned there. Okay, so I'm now going to ask Dr. Mallikarjun from King Koti, who's we all know that King Koti Hospital played such a very important role in the city during all these 2 years. So, Doctor.
Hello, good evening everyone, especially Sujata madam, Azam sir, Dr. Anand sir and all the people in the podium. So we started our COVID isolation center somewhere around in March 2020, March 23rd I suppose. So suddenly our hospital was our first hospital after Gandhi to be converted to a COVID center, and we were asked to start doing only COVID treatment. All the roads were empty, only we were the people seen on the roads. We are coming, all our staff nurses, sanitation workers, and we were there. And all our gynec staff was sent to Sultan Bazar, the nearest gynec hospital. And we were treating the COVID center. So we were all in a horrible situation. Then once I called my gynec doctor and asked, Madam, Madam, you're doing only deliveries, pediatric pillalu, we have to take the COVID cases. Then she said, Malik, you have an option. You know that person is a COVID and you are wearing a mask and PP happily doing. We get a case from Nizamabad at 2 o'clock and we don't know whether it's COVID or not. Who is in a better position? I realized, yes, that's true. So at least we know the protocols, people have to wear the things. But thing is, the sanitation workers, they were the worst affected people. Everybody started getting positive and government was reluctant to give them leaves because sanitation was the most important. And those poor people, they're uneducated and they don't know the COVID protocols. They don't know the importance of wearing a mask and they're horrified. We are literate people. We know the complication, pneumonia, coagulation, all this stuff. They were, for the class 4, it was only death. They were thinking COVID means death and they were not at all willing to work. The only reason they worked because they needed the money, the salaries. That was the only thing that were motivating them. Few of them left, but whoever were there, we were asking them literally to work. And we fully knew that every COVID patient's bedsheet and all the masks these people were taking, they were all contaminated with the COVID, the deadly COVID virus, which didn't have any treatment. Then in the month of May, June, slowly the international community, I am really thankful to the government of US and all of the state governments who released all the COVID data they had, the latest treatment protocols. Because previously, before COVID, even if you want to have a small literature article, it costs around $25 to $30 to get an article to know the latest treatment protocols. But during COVID, South Africa, New York, Europe, everybody was telling, you give azithromycin, you start it, you start remdesivir, you start this, you start that. Freely we are getting all the literature. Doctors in US, pulmonologists, they were ready to call and interact with us in Zoom calls, giving us all the latest data, how much saturation is there and how many liters of oxygen we need to give. And then we were trying and all this, and madam's one close friend, Mr. Indus Martin, he got admitted, madam called me, and then Indus said, sir, meeranta chesturu, do you need anything? I said, sir, andarki oka pulse oximeter unte chala bagunta, sir, because monitoring so many people, like 150 people, we have only 30 monitors. He said, don't worry, Facebook mein hit dal diya. I need crowdfunding, please give me humidifiers, pulse oximeters for all the patients in King Koti. 2 din mein we got everything. So each patient, we went to the bed, Indus and me, and gave pulse oximeter and also cells. You check your saturation. If you feel bad, let me know, we'll give you more oxygen. If you are well, we'll send you to home isolation centers. And then I would like to thank the police department. Nobody knows how much hard work goes into these police people. They have to interact with every COVID patient because you are all were at homes, but those people who were on the streets, they had to interact directly and many got positive. Few died in our hospital. We tried our level best. And then the municipal people, especially the people who carried the dead bodies. I used to go to Gandhi to get the bags, and those people, 20 or 30 people, throughout the day, throughout shift, they didn't get any extra pay. All those of them were outsourcing workers. And the relatives used to dump the bodies in Gandhi. Madam knows very well. Even in our hospital, unknown people from Karimnagar, son doesn't want to come. Daughter has property issues. Nobody wants to touch the body. Leave them, dump them. Now we have to take care, identify, photo nikalo, naam likho, then send it to some unknown burial place at Kukatpalli, and then get it buried and all those things. And then the problem with RT-PCR, we didn't have rapid test. RT-PCR is a test which takes 1.5 days. And government would ask us to go to CCMB, Tarnaka one day, Chevella, Cherlapalli, some hospital, some unknown molecular diagnostic centers, and literally many times we only used to take it at 12:30, 1 o'clock. We used to go in our vehicle, send the samples and come back. And then I would like to thank a few NGOs like Ahmed sir and Azam sir and all SDF people. They have done a wonderful work. They connected oxygen cylinders at Gandhi, and then they came to King Koti. Immediately we took their help, and that was the most deadliest day in our hospital. There was some oxygen issues, and the same day they started, I think it's God's miraculous day, like And then they helped many hundreds of people. Then there was this Dignity Drive Foundation, Rini Grace, and then was Bhagwan Mahavir Foundation, who gave food to all the patients. Then we asked those people, Madam, can we also have the food? Can our sanitation? Whoever wants the food, we want to give, you can give. And few film stars came, Adivishesh sir, Vijay Devarkonda sir, they gave us few sanitation. Then there was a True Bazaar sanitation companies, all the True Bazaar mein jo send the bathrooms, those people came, sir, hum log ek banayenge 1.5 2 lakhs ka sanitation tunnel bana ke denge free of cost. You pass through it, come out through it, you will be sanitized. Once you go in, there will be a sensor inside and you will get all the sanitation. So those people came out and helped. And some people gave us a lot of oxygen cylinders. And there was this Nirman Foundation, IIT alumnus. They gave us around 55 to 60 ventilators. Very high quality, latest ventilators. And then we had tents coming from different people. Many people had come and helped us. Some providing food, some providing ventilators, whatever we required. And the government was very proactive. Whenever we need any treatment, before 1 week or 10 days, we used to get oxygen lines, oxygen gas, liquid oxygen tanks, cylinders, everything we got on time. So being in a hospital, I know only the environment that was taking care, the treatments were doing. But after coming to this meeting, I understand how many people were involved in taking care, the outside big problems which we were all tackling. I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One of the biggest challenges at that time was how do you remain critical of what is happening in the hospital? Because there were things that one had to be critical, not because one was against the doctors, but because there was infrastructure which was necessary, and at the same time give people enough confidence to go to the hospitals. That was the biggest challenge, right? How do you tell people that this has to be improved, but this is the one that you should trust? So I remember those days very, very well. I'm going to now ask Vikas, please come. Because there were a number of other supply chains that had to be put in place. One of them was plasma.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing this, sir. I'm like, with most of them, we work closely. Azam bhai, Amjad bhai, Raj Anna. Yeah. Sir, this COVID is more like a mirror is what I believe. It showed us the reality of our times. We all live in our own worlds, right? Our upbringing, our education system, and our social setup that we are in. We believe the society is so and so. But just couple of weeks of lockdown and people were on streets carrying their children with their luggage and walking to their states. And during that time, we volunteer for Akshaya Patra. I'm here today on behalf of close to 250 volunteers who have been tirelessly working throughout lockdown from till even now. At the time, what we realized is that requests were from every quarter, but there are only few people who are able to address it. That time we thought that Akshaya Patra, being known for the work they do for the food, we thought strengthening their initiative will help address larger needs. So that time we are a group of 200 volunteers. That time we used to pack grocery kits at High-Techs. I want to share a couple of incidences from that. There was one particular request close to airport. So we sent a vehicle of grocery kits, and but because of the airport norms, the vehicle is not allowed inside. So they stopped at a check post, and the guys who asked for those kits, they stay 5 kilometers from there. They are like, it's in the mid-afternoon in the hot summer, and they are like, we will walk, come there for 5 kilometers, and we'll take those grocery kits. That was very, 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 very painful. And if you see the Medchal area, I'm like, anyone who had visited that area, they could not have tears. Tears lekunda undevallu kaadu. So I remember one particular incident where a mother with Day's baby was there, and she was boarding a truck. Then out of the blue, some volunteer comes that with that baby, how can you travel? She immediately booked a cab, arranged 20,000 rupees, and said that go drop that mother and child in their state and come back. That was the phase that time. And it was then in our group we started hearing about plasma requests. It was very tough. Why? Because no matter how good an organization and individual we are, our inner circle is very limited. Couple of hundreds at the max, thousands, right? We felt getting data of people who recovered COVID will be extremely tough. It is then we reached out to Sajjanar sir. And then sir was mentioning the challenges from the police department end. There is one particular incident where a case was filed against an individual. he called 250 members saying that he is of the same blood group as the plasma request and asked that I don't have any money. If you can transfer money, I'm ready to come to the hospital and give. It's not huge money. He asked for 2,000, 3,000 rupees like that. But the issue is that in that critical situation, the family waiting with the hope that someone will come and give that plasma. Then sir told that this is only going to increase if we don't systematically address it. That is when we asked sir, you give us data. From our end, we will engage with dedicated volunteers. So that's when we started this plasma thing. So I must say that it takes lot of guts and conviction for someone to say that give us the requirements for plasma and we are ready to address it. When people are like very literally scared to go out of their home. And for someone like Sajanar sir to give a call and shoulder the responsibility for the entire Hyderabad, it means a lot. Then we started building the confidence in the people. And what we believe is that the synergy, building the synergy goes a long way. We engaged media. We invited media and made them interact with those people who donated plasma multiple times. We invited celebrities. Vijay Devarkonda garu was the first to come. Chiranjeevi garu, Nagarjuna garu, Rajamouli garu. And we came a song with plasma. And one of the biggest challenges was how to take volunteers from their home to the commissionerate. Because this is confidential medical data, right? This can't be shared for anyone outside. So volunteers had to travel to the commissionerate. So the challenge is that they're being stopped at every other checkpost. And by the time they reach the commissionerate, it's already afternoon. Then we came up with the plasma t-shirt so that will be done. Then we faced the challenge of rains. So earlier, most of the volunteers had two-wheelers. How will they commute now? Sajana sir gave police department vehicles. So that's how we arranged. It's not like it's everything new. We are walking into the unknown and trying to see what we can do in the immediate thing. And I must tell you about volunteers. One of my very dear volunteer, Jai, is here. He's just an intermediate student. When we first met, he's in his 10th standard. He used to volunteer at Akshay Patra. And I said, Jai, how are you coming it day in and day out? Then he said that, Bhai, I'm a government school student. I ate the food of Akshay Patra. Right now I'm coming and volunteering with them and feeding food. And that time he told me one thing. If my country is in need and if I am not standing up for it, what is flowing in my body is not blood but water. And during our plasma drive, the same Jai calls me and says that he comes from a very humble beginning and he had transportation problems. I said, I'll take care of the finances of it. Then one day he calls me and says that, Bhai, I want to come to the commissionerate on foot and volunteer there. I asked him why. He says that I want to experience what the migrant workers went through. Right? He stays in Nizampet. Every day from Nizampet, he used to walk to the commissionerate, volunteer throughout the day and go back on foot. He did that for weeks together, sir, just to get that experience of it. And there's a visually challenged volunteer, Akhilesh. So he can't see, but he used to come and make calls, plead with the families. And what is the most painful thing when we used to try arranging plasma is that data is coming from different sources, GHMC, that hospital, this overlap also. Many a times we made repeated calls to the same families who lost their family member. They passed away and we used to like, sir, can you give plasma? Then they are like, they are no more. We used to call them back again because data is like replicated, right, multiple times. So that was the greatest pain. And at times there were situations like we are getting more requests, but there are only few donors. Then we used to speak with doctors, sir, we have these two requests. Whom should we give this unit for? That was really, really painful. And it was very tough. Entire group is like most of them are youngsters and I'm pretty sure that they would not have seen pain in their life till now. But we heard about deaths every single day and almost every hour. And myself at a personal level, I might have spoken to 1,000+ people who requested plasma. Once I shared the request in the group, I used to call them back and I used to ask them, sir, can I speak with you for 2 minutes? I used to ask, sir, can I know the saturation level when you went into the hospital? In the entire calls, I can split into two. One category, they used to say that we went to hospital when it is 93, 94. The other category would say when we went to hospital when it is 87, 88. My question would be, why did you wait for so long? They used to say that, sir, if we go to hospital, we have to pay 1 lakh upfront. We don't have that money. When the reading was 92, 91 like that, we thought 2-3 points here and there, no, they might recover, they might improve. But when it fell below 90, Then we got scared. Then we rushed to the hospital. Just because of the financial thing that they had to pay upfront, many of the families didn't approach hospital and they lost their dear ones. And there are many things like that. And regarding oxygen also, just imagine that people are like struggling for breath, and we have kept a price tag for it. It was then we started an initiative called Upiri. We said that no matter whosoever asks for oxygen, let's give it at free of cost. And we had zero finances at that time. And we said that this is not a transaction that we are doing. And people who got the benefit of it, they can contribute back to the cause. Then we shared this initiative to Sajana sir, then we started Oxygen Bank, and Khalid bhai, I called him at very odd times and Azam bhai request for oxygen, and within a quick notice they used to address that. And the needs that came to us kept changing with time. Initially it was food, then it was migrant workers transportation. And we have, each one of you here did amazing work, but for the people who are here, Hyderabad would have seen unbelievable suffering. And each of you had addressed one issue. I know people here who had dedicatedly addressed the cause of migrant workers. We have Ramesh Ramanathan Garu here. He addressed the cause of weavers. And we had the request from farmers that Mosambik is there, but there are no markets out there. During the Shramik trains, we ordered 25 tons of Mosambik from farmers, packed that. So, and the crisis is still on, sir. We just saw the mirror, right? Now that seeing that mirror, the reality of our times, what are we going to do going ahead is a question to all of us. Why? Because just imagine how many food centers are there in Hyderabad. What percentage of Hyderabad eats outside their homes? During COVID, all of them lost their work. How many Olas and Ubers and autos used to commute, right? All of them lost their thing. And there are like film industry in all 24 crafts. It has 22,000 people working in film industry, and they are jobless. And I am pretty sure that each one of us sitting in this space have any economic assets of our own. Economic assets, I mean our own home, our own vehicle, our own property, land, money, like that. A greater percentage of our society doesn't have any assets of their own. They work on a week-to-week basis and day-to-day basis also, right? So it's a hard-hitting mirror that we all saw, and it's up to us for now. Even now we get a lot of questions. Whenever I travel on Rapido, they say that, sir, me range chestund, what do you do? They say that I used to work in so-and-so construction company, I lost my job. I have my family to take care. I have to pay rent. I have to give education fees for my children. What do I do? Can you give me some job? There are many people who are jobless right now. Livelihoods is one important thing which we all has to address. And there are many stories like that. I have Vinay here. Vinay, please. This guy is one of the most dedicated guy to address blood requests. So he gave his first blood donation in last year, January 15th. From then on till this year, January 15th, he has donated, can you guess how many times he might have donated blood, plasma and platelets? Any guess? In 1 year, 365 days. Any guesses? 3 times. Okay. Any other guess? 5. Yeah. He donated 18 times. And we asked him, bhai, please wait, don't do so much aggressively. So there are like that. And I must tell about the Hyderabad police also. Earlier we used to have a different notion of police. We have never had this interaction with them, right? But it was an eye-opener for us. Especially Sajanar sir, I see him as a social worker wearing that uniform. So during the second wave, there were days when we called at night 11:30, night 12 o'clock asking to address an emergency bed requirement. At that time, he used to sleep for 4 to 4.5 hours a day. He used to sleep addressing an emergency requirement and wake up to an emergency requirement. And the synergy is very important. We were able to bring together colleges, youngsters from colleges, civil society organizations, police department, media, and TSIG. TSIG is amazing. It became a nucleus, bringing together everyone, that synergy. And I have amazing people like Shashank. Please, Shashank, once. He started a crowdfunding platform called Good Club. During COVID, they have helped raise 4 crore plus rupees. And they have meticulously identified the critical requirements and they have addressed that. And we have Harsha from COVID War Room. they have served thousands of requirements during the second phase of COVID. It's an initiative started by IIIT Hyderabad students. They came up with an initiative like, can we all contribute 15 minutes of our daily time helping an unknown person, and they have made that a part of their routine. Even today, they dedicate 15 minutes of their time every day addressing some requirements. So my thing is that, see, the number of good people and organizations that we would have met in a course of 10 years of journey, we were able to meet them in a short span of 1 to 1.5 years. That was the only good thing that happened during COVID. It brought good people and good organizations. So we were firefighting till now. Can we use that connect for developmental and constructive work as well? There's a lot of need in that respect. Next time, if we see the pandemic, there should not be anyone coming on road. And so fragile our economic status of many families is, right? So I don't know what to say. There's a lot of work to be done, and the work is not done yet. We just saw the mirror of it, and now that we have seen the mirror, the reality of India and the society, so it's up to our hearts. And as sir rightly mentioned, sir, we are all thinking like, now that we have done this far, chalo, let's go back to our routines, our own professional work, our own money earning things, right? So this session today is very, very important, sir. Why? Because I'm pretty sure that each one of your acquaintances and friends would have told, how long will you do this? What is happening to your business? What is going to happen to your health? Get back to your routine, right? So before we do that, we should bring this all together, and I would request Hyderabad Urban Labs to come up with a book of these stories which happened. Why? Because these stories and the work done and the contribution they made, they deserve a larger audience, sir. And each story is powerful enough to open hearts. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Vikas, and we will certainly take that idea very seriously, that we should do a book. I've been saying this for a very long time. Just a couple of things that I want to underscore from what Vikas has said. For a very large number of people who lost work and earnings, one very important thing we must remember is this. For people who earn on a day-to-day basis, they earn to eat on that day and to put away a little bit for savings or for repaying loans. It's that asset that they create or asset that they repay the loan for, which is what gives them the resilience. And what has happened during the lockdown, first wave, second wave, and subsequently, at different points of time, those assets got wiped out. And no new assets got created. Which basically means that when they are now on the street to start working again, they are not starting from zero. They are starting from a very deep setback. And that setback, they have no way of actually recouping. Because for people who are in other sectors of the economy, it's possible to increase the rate at which they accumulate wealth. 10 रुपया कमा रहे हैं, 12 बना ले सकते हैं उसको. बट सड़क पे जो केला बेचता है वो 10 रुपया जो बनाता है 10 रुपया ये बना सकता है, उससे आगे 1 रुपया भी नहीं बना सकता है. दैट इज द नेचर ऑफ दैट इकोनॉमी. तो अगर वो हट गया, मिट गया, तो ही इज एक्चुअली एट अ वेरी डीप सेटबैक. एंड दिस सेटबैक इज समथिंग दैट यू आर सीइंग इन एवरी सेक्टर, विच इज व्हाट सुजाता वाज सेइंग कि 2 साल स्कूल नहीं चली तो बच्चों को जो सेटबैक हुई उसका मेकअप करना बहुत मुश्किल है. The number of kids who are going to be out of school now because they are not understanding what is happening in the classroom is amazingly large. Even if they get back into school and continue, the setback that they have received in terms of moving forward in their work life is very, very severe. Unless we do, and even if we do, a lot of corrective work in the next 2 years, one entire generation has been very badly hit and they will never recover. And these wounds, I remember during the first demonetization time, not the first, the only demonetization time, one auto rickshaw driver told me कि साहब ये पुलिस वाले के लाठे की जो लाठी की जो मार होती है ना, उस तरह की ये चीज़ है। ये ऊपर को कुछ नहीं दिखती है, अंदर से बहुत गहरी घाव है, ये नहीं जाएगा। The wound inside is not going to be visible. It is going to stay with us for a very long time. It's that. Household economy, the hit that it has taken inside is just not going to be visible for a very long time. So we should move on, and we will definitely take it up, and I'm going to say this towards the end on how we should be doing. I'm now going to actually ask Siraj Bhai to come here for one moment to tell us what he did. Siraj works with us very closely. Siraj Bhai, come. Siraj was driving an auto rickshaw when the lockdown began, and when we asked him to go around looking for people who were hungry, he went around very diligently. He was also, one of the things he was doing at that time was to work with a group called Roti Walas. So in Hyderabad, all the function halls have these chefs who take the bigger contract, and then they give the smaller contracts to different people, right? So Roti Walas are the people who go around doing rotis at different function halls. That whole thing got wiped out for months and months and months, right? So during that time, he was going around talking to people, and I remember the early interactions with him. One of the first things when everything turned around for us in Hyderabad Urban Lab with Siraj Bhai is when he told us that मुझे कल लगा कि कोविड हो गया है. I still remember, कोविड हो गया है मुझे, और मैं गया सीधा घर, चुपचाप किसी से बात नहीं किया, पानी नहा लिया, सोचा कि हो गया है, अब मेरा आखिरी बार नहा रहा हूँ घर पे. मेडिकल शॉप पे गया और बोला कि भाई हॉस्पिटल को फ़ोन कर दो, किसी तरह से मुझे हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा दो. तो मेडिकल शॉप वाले ने कहा कि पागल हो क्या, तुम्हें कुछ नहीं हुआ है, घर जाओ तुम. समझाया मेरे को, वापस गया मैं, कुछ नहीं हुआ. 2 दिन के बाद फिर मैं ठीक हो गया. एंड ही सेड दैट कि विद दैट आई लॉस्ट द फियर ऑफ कोविड. एंड ही सेड ये डर जो है ना, एक बार वो खौफ हमारे दिन में से हट गया है, then you can do a lot of things. And the number of kind of things that he did was actually to interact with a lot of migrant workers from Bihar. And I want him to tell us a little bit about what he did with the communication needs of those people. SIM cards के बारे में कहानी सुनो.
वो लोग बोलने लगे थे जब मैं जाकर राशन वगैरह देता था, तो वो लोग बोले कि भैया हमारे खाने के लिए तो सब कुछ आ जा रहा है, हमारी फैमिली से बात करने के लिए कोई हमारा फ़ोन रिचार्ज कराना, कहाँ से कोई कांटेक्ट हो रहा हमारी फैमिली से बात करने के लिए. तो तब मैं अपनी मैम को मैंने मैसेज किया कि मैम ऐसा ये लोग बोल रहे हैं खाने पीने के लिए तो सारा सामान हम लोग दे रहे हैं, रिचार्ज इनका फ़ोन करवाना है. वो तो ठीक है सिराज करवा दो. वो तो 1 2 3 रिचार्ज नहीं थे वहाँ पर, 110 रिचार्ज एक जगह से निकले कराने के लिए. वो लोग का जब रिचार्ज कराए तो वो लोग अपनी फैमिली से बात करके फिर मेरे को मैसेज करके बोलते कि आपकी तरफ से मैं अपनी फैमिली से बात करा, नहीं तो हमारी फैमिली से कोई बात नहीं करा रहा था आज तक, इतना टाइम हो गया था. सिद्दीक नगर में जब गए थे हम लोग, एक फ़ोन आया था सिद्दीक नगर से, जब जाके सिद्दीक नगर में बात करे तो एक 6 लोग के लिए दिए किट. उसके बाद थोड़े लोग आए सामने, मैं बोला आपका क्या प्रॉब्लम है. वो तो नहीं भैया हमारे कपड़े देख के हमको तो कोई दे रहा ही नहीं, हमारे कलर और हमारे कपड़ों को देख के, क्योंकि हम लोग भी माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स है, मगर हमको कोई समझ रहा नहीं. फिर मैम से बात करने के बाद बताने लगे कि देखो सिराज कितने लोग हैं. वहाँ देखे तो 600 पीपल्स थे वहाँ पर वो सिद्दीक नगर में. उन लोग के लिए भी सर और मैम की तरफ से ज़्यादा हेल्प हुआ था उन लोग के लिए.
Thank you, Siraj. So one of the things that we realized actually was that there were very strange requests, very strange reasons, very strange requirements, right? So one thing we had to do was to start putting up SIM card numbers and saying these are the numbers, please do the recharging. So we had people from Delhi doing the recharge for somebody from Hyderabad who has to go to Darbhanga. तो दिल्ली में से कोई बैठ के अच्छा चलो मैं आज रात को बैठ के ये 10 मैं कर देता हूँ. उस तरह से बहुत सारे लोगों के फैमिली के कनेक्शन बनवा सके थे. So I am now going to ask my friend Latif Bhai to tell us about something really, really critical and very important. And Amjad Bhai is also here.
Thank you guys. My name is Amjad, Sayyad Amjad, and I represent SDIF. Thanks to, first we will thank to Azam Bhai and Azam Bhai family and other families also. We are enough not thanking our family members, especially my wife and other, and they have let us do this job. आप सब कुछ शुक्रिया सबका अदा कर रहे हैं, लेकिन वो फैमिली मेम्बर्स का जितने ठहरे हुए हैं मर्द हजरात, उनके जो बीवियाँ हैं वो सब ने अलाउ किया है 2 साल काम करने के लिए. अलाउ किया है लिटरली, अनेबल ऑफ कोर्स. तो बहरहाल थैंक यू वेरी मच. हाँ. This all started from 22nd. I was just talking to Dr. Mallikarjun Saab. It has all started on 22nd March. Me and Azam Bhai were standing at my hotel, and then this lockdown was announced on 20th, I believe. And then his foresightedness, SDIF's foresightedness, he said, no, this is going to go very long. It's not going to be, short. So we have to plan it accordingly. Then the next day, we have unloaded 1 truck load of rice. And subsequently, every alternate day, possibly, I think, every alternate day, 2 trucks load of rice was unloading, dal, other. I've never seen that much of rice, dal, oil, imli, tel. I don't even know how much it cost earlier. Kilo of, we used to buy 1 kilo, 2 kilo, and because you know very well. So then I was suddenly, 1 load of oil we were unloading, truckload of oil. I was like, what I'm doing? My wife keeps on telling me, what the hell are you doing? I said, I don't know. I mean, just flowing according to, the needs of the people. Then we started distributing. And we, other than Khalid Bhai told something about 19,000 from free ration app, I believe. Other than that, more than 16,000 kits we have distributed in the city areas. And more other areas we have distributed 16,000 kits. And then the second, after the first wave, I would like to say one incident of the first wave, which we are trying to get the people to come out of their houses and try to work with us. And one of my friend, his Nawab, and he called me. He said, Amjad bhai, kya kar rahe hain aap? After 10 days, I believe. And I said, kuch nahi, to aap to bore ho ja rahe honge. Because he knows me, I start my day very early, 6 o'clock I will be in the office, and also bore हो जा रहे होंगे. तो बोला नहीं, मैं तो बोर नहीं हो रहा हूँ, मैं तो सुबह निकल जा रहा हूँ. सब बंद है पूरा, everything is locked down and how come? बोला मेरे पास तो होटल खुला है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चल रहा है. बोले तो फिर बोले ऐसा कैसा? बोला हाँ डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहा हूँ, मैं तो बैठा हूँ. तो आपका क्या हाल है? बोले बोर हो जा रहा हूँ. बोले 10 दिन हो गए बोर हो जा रहा हूँ. तो बोला ऐसा कैसा बोर हो जा रहे हो भैया? आप मुझे याद है आपका लिविंग रूम डिज़ाइन कर रहे हैं, आप बोले ये झूमर इतने का यहाँ लगाना है, ये कालीन यहाँ लगाना है, ये लगाना है. बोला इतने लाखों रुपए लगा के आप लिविंग रूम बनाए और उसमें 8 दिन नहीं रह सके आप, 8 days नहीं रह सके आप, आपको खुद बोर हो जा रहे हैं आप वो 8 days में. बोला कम आउट, आइए बाहर आइए, देखिए लोग कैसा तड़प रहे हैं खाने के लिए, राशन के लिए, पानी के लिए. लॉकडाउन है, इतनी मुसीबत है. So then he has come out and he has supported us. So छोटे incidents. And next come the floods. I think nobody talked about floods. I think Hyderabad floods. That was unprecedented, and it was last October, which I believe. And we were the first one. Azam Bhai and me were the first one at 9 o'clock in the morning. Next day, when rain stopped, 6 boats we arranged it, and three of them was took by MLA, of course. Then again we shorted up with 3 to 4, and we helped around I remember 1500, more than 1500 people evacuated from that day from the floods, and that too from the first floor when the ground floor was all occupied with the water and all. So that was very hard and tough days. And then the toughest part of all waves were the second wave, which I feel then we need an oxygen. That's when we started procuring the cylinders. And the last cylinder, I still remember we bought it, Azam Bhai, if I'm right, 32,500 rupees for 47 kgs of water. So that we started procuring, and then oxygen was the biggest issue. To refill the oxygen, it was like hell, and that was on my head. Azam Bhai and Khalid Bhai, everybody, like you were saying, and then I was sitting. I don't know how many places I went to get the oxygen refill. how many nights we spent there. How many nights we spent there, we sat and we requested, we were giving the money, doing all possible, whatever we can to get that cylinder, filled up and try to deliver. And thanks to Mallikarjun Saab, Dr. Mallikarjun Saab of King Koti Hospital, who was spontaneously, with the day we went there and requested them, can we have oxygen here at your triage area? And instantly, the same moment, they approved it and we installed it. Thanks to Latif Bhai and team, they were technically helped us to install those cylinders, and he used you people will, you will laugh. We use the pipe, 50 PCI, the one with which you fill the tire pressure and all, एयर हवा जो भरते हैं वो पाइप जो है इन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया लोगों को ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई करने के लिए. And then that was a temporary solution. We don't have any other means to help the people. And then another, I should thank Dr. Narsimha Sahab. He is a deputy superintendent of Gandhi Hospital, and they were also very helpful. And in Gandhi Hospital, there was a nodal center. Daily, approximately 22, if I'm not wrong, 22, not less than 22 every day. Till 1.5 months, we have supplied oxygen day and night, 24 hours. We were putting people there, paid people there for 12-hour shift, and keep on. They were second day, every second day, possibly third day. ऐसे हम नहीं काम कर सकते भाई, घर में नहीं बोल रहे हैं, कोविड के पेशेंट में जा रहे हैं. Then we were giving them 20-25,000. Also, people are not willing to work. And I said, देखो भाई मैं भी ठहरा हूँ, मेरे भी बीवी है, बच्चे हैं, I'm also there. मेरी माँ है, मैं भी ठहरा हूँ तुम्हारे साथ. तो 1.5 महीना कंटिन्यूस हम जो है गांधी हॉस्पिटल, ये हॉस्पिटल्स वी आर from here to there, and chest hospital also, and we were here to there, hopping around from one hospital to another hospital trying to get the oxygen there. The first and the foremost responsibility of mine is to supply the oxygen, continuous flow of oxygen to the Gandhi hospital and other hospital, which were like 22 cylinders a day. In 24 hours, 22 cylinders. Getting one cylinder is very challenging, and we helped out 22 cylinders every single piece a day till about 1.5 months, and we have saved so many lives. I have so many stories, and you people will cry. If you see, I have, मैं लाश इतने लाश उठाया ये हाथों से, 3-4 लाशें उठाया मैं, हटाया वहाँ से. लोग जो है ना इतना कैसे रो रहे थे, and we try to help. 6-8 महीने तो मैं खुद अपने से 23 approximately I would say विडोज़ को जो है ना उनके हेल्प आउट किया, जो आ रहे थे वहीं मर जा रहे थे लोग, फिर बच्चे छोटे वो लोग ऐसे मैं 2-3 इंसिडेंट याद है. जो कॉलर पकड़ के बच्चा रो रहा, बाप को उठो बोल के बोल रहा है, जो बाप मर गया उसी समय वो बच्चा बोल रहा है कि नहीं डैडी लेव डैडी नु एट्ले ఏమైంది నీకు లేవు నువ్వు లేస్తావు కదా ఎందుకు లేస్తలేవు. बस they were crying like one guy still. I still remember, I mean कान में वही आवाज़ गूंज रही है, बोल रहा है कि वो पिन्नी नु వచ్చాయి అమ్మకి ఏదో అయింది ను వచ్చాయి. He was shouting like anything. I was only saying, I can only hear that పిన్ని ను వచ్చాయి అమ్మకి ఏదో అయింది ను వచ్చాయి హాస్పిటల్కి వచ్చాయి. So there were so many stories, and thankfully all of other organization, we are thankful to our donors. We are thankful to the people who helped out in this extreme situation. Thank you everybody for helping us in this extreme situation. Azam bhai, thank you to you sir, and Bhabhi of course. Thank you everybody. Thanks for giving me time.
I wish Feroz bhai is here today. So he is one of the nucleus connecting thread in the Hyderabad ecosystem, and second wave was really tough, and getting volunteers was very hard that time. And in every team there will be certain individuals and small groups who lift the spirit of everyone. During the second wave, especially at Hyderabad Police Commissionerate, volunteers from SBM are the group that time. They were doing Ramzan. They're not even sipping water, but throughout the day they used to make calls arranging plasma. Hats off to each one of you. And I must also send one incident for a request for oxygen. We used to get this request from people, like they used to say, my parents are very old, we can't afford to get them treated, but at the same time we can't leave them like that also. can you give us oxygen so that we can somehow sustain them at homes, right? At that time, there are some small hospitals who said that we will treat them for free provided we get oxygen. We are ready to give our time. We are ready to give our skill. But what we don't have is that oxygen. Oxygen is the most critical thing. Then with like-minded organizations and SDIF and all, we combined and we used to give oxygen support to those nursing homes so that they get the oxygen. So it's like very, very, very tough, sir. And I'm sure each one of us, given a time, each of you can speak for hours together. Such are those experiences. Thank you, sir.
सॉरी अज़हर भाई, मुफ्ती अज़हर साहब, थैंक यू. एंड वो एक बीच में माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स का जो इशू हुआ था, माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स में हम लोग जो है ना साथ काम कर रहे थे. खाली मैं अज़हर भाई को कॉल करके बोला पानी देना है, तो 3 शादी खाने आई रिमेंबर. देयर वर 3 मैरिज हॉल, फंक्शन हॉल्स वेयर पीपल वर केप्ट देयर. अब अराउंड 4,000 to 5,000 पीपल वर देयर, मोर देन दैट इवन. इनके सब के लिए हमने करीब 1 महीने तक फ्रॉम SDIF एंड SBM वाज सप्लाइंग द वाटर. गर्मा हेवी गर्मे में ठंडा पानी पूरा 9 बजे रात तक सप्लाई किए लोगों ने, डेली 3 महीने तक माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स के लिए. हम लोग 3,000 रोटीज वी वर सप्लाइंग बिकॉज देयर वाज नॉर्थ इंडियंस, देयर वर ऑल. वो चावल खाने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था उन लोग को, तो वो फेंक दे रहे थे बेचारे. इतना चावल आ रहा था लेकिन फेंक दे रहे थे. फिर हम लोगों ने डिसाइड किया कि मैं रोटी देंगे उनको. तो 3,000 रोटी. मैं DCP से बात करके, DCP में बोला खाना वेस्ट जा रहा है, तो बोले क्या किया जाए. बोला नहीं, हम रोटी देते हैं इनको. तो 3,000 रोटी. मैं बोला मेरी तरफ से डेली 3,000 रोटी है. पानी हमारा 9 बजे तक पानी रहेगा लॉकडाउन पीरियड में. तो दैट वाज वेरी अनप्रेसिडेंटेड. 20 किलोमीटर फ्रॉम मेडचल टू आई यूज्ड टू ट्रैवल. मेरी गाड़ी यूँ झुक गई. 4 शॉक ऑब्जर्व चेंज कराने पड़े मुझे. चप्पल गाड़ी में जो है ना, काफ़ी स्टफ. थैंक यू SBM फॉर हेल्पिंग अदर.
अज़हर भाई के साथ एक चीज़ है कि सब कुछ स्केल पे चलता है. 50,000, 2 लाख, 30 करोड़, इसके नीचे कभी बात नहीं करते हैं. मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि शुरुआत में just before everything else began, just before the lockdown, actually we were having a workshop with SBM in our office, and the COVID story came to us in a very strange situation. Mind space बंद हो गई because one case was found there, and SBM staff sitting in our office got up and said हमको जाना पड़ेगा. क्यों भाई? Because from their canteen they were getting food, leftover food, and distributing, and that meant that their promise could not be met that evening and there was going to be a problem. They had to do something about it. Subsequently, when we were talking about it, I was struggling with one problem, which is that story that was coming in from not only from the news media but also from many of my friends. खुदा से डरेंगे हम, मौत से नहीं डरेंगे, which basically meant that we are not afraid of COVID, जाएंगे कहीं पे भी, right? Which seemed like a scary idea. पहुंच जाएंगे कहीं पे, इन्फेक्ट हो जाएंगे, हमको इन्फेक्ट से डर नहीं है, right? तो we said that डरना पड़ेगा. We'll have to find some way of telling people कि तुम लोगों को डरना पड़ेगा, not in the way कि हम खुदा से ज़्यादा कोविड से डरेंगे, वो वाली बात नहीं है, कुछ और बात है, right? तो भाजपति, who was running many of these workshops, said that अज़हर भाई को पकड़ो, he will get the message across. So I wrote a short note and I sent it to him in English and said, अज़हर भाई ये पहुंचाना है कैसे? He said 50,000 मस्जिदों में मैं पहुंचा सकता हूं उसको. 50,000 मस्जिद. I was scared. How do you do that? And he basically said that I'm going to do an audio recording and send it off to people in my associations and request people कि या तो आप ये वाली मैसेज जो है ये आप मस्जिद के माइक से पढ़ के लोगों को सुना दो. अगर ये नहीं सुना सकेंगे आप, तो मेरी आवाज़ से आप ये ऑडियो फाइल वहाँ पे प्ले करके सुना दो. And I think that it actually made a big difference because we started getting messages from different places when we sent this message कि ये हमको localize करके दो, मराठी में दो, give us this same message in completely localized images, words, texts, all of that, and it got scaled up and it made a big difference in many cities. That was the power. So I have now 2 or 3 more people who should be speaking, and then after that if anyone wants to speak, we will hear of them. One is, we have Deepthi here and Kavita. Both of them actually have done amazing work. Kavita was actually going through severe health issues herself in the middle of it, and I still remember रात को 10 बजे 12 बजे से लेके 2 बजे 3 बजे तक सुजाता सूर्यपल्ली मेरे पीछे पड़े रहती कि इसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए, whom do we contact, कौन से हॉस्पिटल में किसको पकड़ सकते हैं, कैसे करना चाहिए, right? This was what was going on for days and days and days. So I want to go ask Deepti and Kavita to come and speak for 2 minutes, and then I want to hear Latif Bhai talking about his oxygen supply in government hospitals.
Thank you, Anant. I don't know where to start. Okay, so during the first wave, I was in Warangal. Okay, let me introduce myself. I'm Deepti. I'm a research associate and I'm also part of Dalit Women's Collective, and we work in Singareni Colony slums. In the first wave, I was in Warangal. I had gone there just a day before and I got stuck there. The lockdown started, the very next day I went there. So I lived in Warangal for 12 years, but I didn't really take any interest in knowing the place. My idea was service was, orphanages or paying for fees of poor students and all. But that totally changed with the first wave of COVID. I first went to a slum near my home. Then I realized the problem is much bigger than what I'm seeing. So gradually I roped into more of my friends and we distributed groceries to about 1,200 families in Warangal. For daily wage workers and also migrant workers, and then we also started sending workers home. We sent about 300 workers to Bengal and UP. And during the second wave I was here, I was working with SBM. I was the team lead of the helpline, Hum helpline, and I think we were working for about 16 to 18 hours a day or sometimes more than that. We were able to provide about 500 cylinders. In just 1 week, we received about 12,000 calls. We were able to address only 5,000 or 6,000 of it because the volume was too much. And the volunteers, we had hardly 50 volunteers. 70 or 80 people joined first, and gradually, one by one, all of them were dropping, looking at the work. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but only the Muslims stuck. Only the Muslims stayed with the work. All others left. Yeah, and apart from cylinders, the concentrators and arranging for ambulances and everything, and we had some difficult choices to make. For example, we were left with only 2 cylinders for that. Since we were not able to give to everyone, we cut down the quota to 20 cylinders a day or 32 cylinders a day, something like that. So on one particular day, we were left with only 2 cylinders. And we had a difficult choice to make. There was a 23-year-old guy whose oxygen was about 65 to 70, and then there was another 70-year-old person. And we had a difficult choice. It was a difficult choice, whether to give to both or shall we wait for one more person who is really in need. So we thought 70-year-old, he has lived enough, that's okay, let it go. And we gave it to the 23-year-old. And just then the floods also came, and then we were visiting all the places in the old city, and we worked in the Chadar Ghat slums. Not much, but it was more of a documentation work, working with the slums during the flood situation, and also distributing groceries again. And in Warangal I was alone. There were quite a few challenges also. In one place when I went, the corporator of that area, he suddenly came in and said, either you have to give to everyone or don't give to anyone. And I said, who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I didn't know that he was the corporator. So I was a little rash with him, and he was, kind of throwing in all kinds of profanities at me. And so I went there particularly because that area had a lot of disabled people with a lot of disabilities, and that's why I had chosen that area on that day. I went there with 70 grocery kits, but that guy said there are about 200 families here and you have to give to everyone or don't give to anyone. And he was ready with his banner. With banner of his pick and everything, he wanted to distribute it. I said no. I sent him away. I left that place immediately, and I went there around 8 o'clock in the evening, through lanes and by lanes, escaping the police, and finally gave it that day. So that's how a few challenges were thrown at us, and especially because I'm a woman. And then there was no woman out there in Warangal except for food distribution here and there, Annadanam. Except that no woman was out on the roads, and probably that was also a difficult thing for people to accept, and especially these politicians. And yeah, Anand said only 2 minutes, but there's a lot, so I'll stop here. Thank you. Yeah.
We will actually write lots of books on these things, and we should write all of them. We will. One of the things that we actually came to realize very early is that COVID was only one of the ways in which people could die. People were dying all kinds of things during this. People died of exhaustion. People died because they didn't get enough exercise. People died because they were not being regularly monitored by doctors. So suddenly one day you wake up and you have a problem that you have actually had for months and it went undiagnosed. People died in all kinds of ways during this, and they were all connected to COVID, right? It's somehow connected to one single thing, but in so many different forms. So I'm going to ask Latif Bhai and then Raj to be the last speaker. And then after that, but before we do these two, I wanted to say that we should really take very seriously what Vikas Bhai has been suggesting, that we should document all of these, we should publish this. I think this city deserves it because there is a lot of very interesting things that have happened. So please, if all of you will leave your phone numbers or contact numbers with Kranti is standing there, please leave your contacts with her, and I'm going to put out a message again tomorrow or day after. So please keep looking up Lamakaan, Hyderabad Urban Lab, and we will reach out through other sources. But we will definitely do this as soon as possible. Maybe we should do it as a series and not one. So first thing that we could try and do is to do the day on which the first Shramik train left Hyderabad, which is May 1st. Gives you a nice 6-week time from now to produce the first volume. So we should, I think, definitely try to do something like that, and we are up for it. Okay. So.
Thanks, Anand Bhai, and I think most of the people have worked together for the COVID. My name is Latif, just a name. I think SDIF everybody was interested in providing the cylinders. But the problem raised during providing the cylinders, and everybody was discussing about there are large requirement for cylinders, and we have less number of cylinders, and we are not able to reach the people. It may be at home also. We provided a cylinder to a family, and one was infected. The next day we got a call that the second family member is infected, the third family member is infected, and 3 other family members are already infected, and we only provided 1 cylinder to him. So we did not have a capacity to provide a second cylinder or a third cylinder or a fourth cylinder for a family, but the family is staying together. So Adam Bhai and Amjad Bhai, they said me, Bhai, kuch to karo iska. Do something about it, because we are facing lot of challenges. We are not able to provide cylinders to each and everyone. Do you have any solution where we can provide a cylinder with multiple lines? But that is done in the hospitals also, because they have the bank of cylinders, and the cylinders go through a pipeline and it goes to the bed. If each bed is connected to that. But that is done with a copper pipeline. So the 2-3 challenges was important. That was the research. First we have to do the research, how to do, what to do. And we don't have any shop open. We did not have any mechanic to be open to do the research. Then we purchased some pipe of a copper pipeline. Copper pipeline karke, then we have a soldering to it, because we have to have a multiple nozzles at different location. Then we come up with that copper pipeline, and it was difficult for me to adjust it, because if I am taking a 6 feet, 12 feet pipeline, I was not able to travel with that pipeline. So there was lot of problems with the copper pipeline. And once the connection, because the connection has to be given by the technical expert. If you are soldering a copper pipeline, then you should have a copper soldering machine has to be there. Then the soldering has to be done perfectly, so that oxygen pressure is too high. So you cannot maintain the oxygen pressures and other things. What we have done is that was God gifted idea. That's all. I think I don't deserve that idea, but I got that idea. I went to Sikandrabad and we were discovering the copper pipeline system. So you don't have to be educated. I have learned that we should throw our degrees, being calling an IITian, saying that I am studied at I am Bangalore. Somebody said that I am top level. Sab, literally, this idea was not mine. It was the shopkeeper idea. मैं copper की pipeline बना रहा हूँ तो सर आप flexible pipe लेके क्यों नहीं करते पूछा उन्हें. Why don't you use a flexible pipeline? अरे कैसा हो सकता फ्लेक्सिबल नहीं साहब कर सकते बोले तो देन आई गॉट दैट आइडिया यस फ्लेक्सिबल बिकॉज दिस पाइपलाइंस आर यूज फॉर हाई प्रेशर्स इट्स 50 psi pipes which use for the industrial doing all the things. So 50 psi is more than enough. We calculated the psi of an oxygen cylinder, how it gets out of it. So you have a regulator at the regulator point. So once you regulate that psi's, then we can able to do it. So what we have done is that okay, what should be done? Then we said कि भाई कैसा करना है. तो then he said नहीं एक बंदा है जो PSI pipes पे काम करता. So PSI pipes basically आपको अगर ये देखेंगे तो wash basin को भी लगे हुए रहते. If you look at your all wash basins and other things, जो connections आपको नल से नीचे से जो नल को आता है, the pipeline water supply from the pipe to the wash basin, the same it is used in greasers also. So it's not a rocket science. So we said कि कैसा करना है बोल के. So what we have done is that we have done is that we have cut pieces into 2 feet and 3 feet. 2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet pipelines we have cut it. Then we have put it in at nozzle systems to them. You can connect multiple lines to it. 10 होना है, 15 होना है, 20 होना है, we were able to do. What we have done is that when we start connecting to one pipe, then what we have done is that we have connected a wall. The problem was it that एक patient my oxygen cylinder तो I am starting with the oxygen of 1. Now at the main line the pressure is high, but the patient 1 is critical. He required 10 liters of oxygen. The patient 5 required 2 liters of oxygen. The patient 3 is required 3 liters of oxygen. Then the patient 7 requires 9 liters of oxygen. Now the flow is same. अभी वो पेशेंट को आप एक सिलेंडर में से कनेक्शन दे रहे सबको 10 लीटर दिए तो फिर वो एक प्रॉब्लम. That was a heavy problem. Then we started with okay, we will adjust with the wall. So we started putting each at the every point we put a wall. With the wall you can maintain the pressure of the oxygen. Once you put the oxygen जो oximeter वो लगा रहे थे अपन humidifier flow meters लगा रहे थे, we will able to connect that okay 2 liters is required 3 liters. The best part was it that was the critical time we were able to provide the oxygen. Patient had a oxygen, he is coming from the district, ambulance has the oxygen. He reached the Gandhi hospital, he reached the King Khoti hospital. The time duration is that because they don't have the bed, the patient is left over there, and right now doctors are doing their job. They have done excellent job. But the problem is that at that point they cannot provide the oxygen because oxygen is only supplied at the bed. There was no oxygen supplied at the registration counters. So what we have smartly done is that we put in one cylinder. Then there was lot of issues related to that. When we started, there was the leakages. रात में अमजद भाई phone करते थे leakage हो गया. Now the patient is at the 3rd point. We have a leakage. Already 7th point is it is working. So I have to close the 3rd and do the work. So 7th को 3rd पे shift करो because his ratio was high. 10 liters required, so we shifted that patient to the 3rd, then we have fixed it, but it worked very smartly. I thank that it has worked very smartly. The pressure maintenance and everything was perfect. It was very well designed, and we are thankful to Maqsood, one of the guy. वो रात में जाके उसको उठा के कैसा भी वेल्डिंग करो, फिर उन्हें एक दिन बोला नहीं सर मेरे को एक बॉटल पिलाए तो मैं रात भर में पूरे करके देता हूँ. मैं रात में काम करना बोल तो मेरे को नींद आती, सर मैं काम नहीं कर सकता हूँ। तो अब रात में बॉटल कहाँ मिलेगा, अब फिर लॉकडाउन। उन्हें बोला आपको वी वर रिक्वायर्ड अराउंड 250 टू डिफरेंट हॉस्पिटल, दूसरे जगहों पे, होम्स में। व्हाट वी आर डूइंग इज द 3 दे दिए, एक सिलेंडर दे दिया, लेट देम मेंटेन एंड डू इट। सो वो रात भर काम करने के लिए बोला, फिर उसको ला के दिए, उन्हें पी ले के रात सुबह तक 9 o'clock ही मेड एवरीथिंग रेडी। वो कहाँ से दुकान में से ला, कहाँ से लाया नहीं मालूम था वो। ही वेंट टू द साइड शॉप, उसको रास्ता मालूम था, वहाँ से नटा उठा के ला लेके काम कर दे के सुबह में बोल दिया उसको दे। बट द वे पीपल हैव वर्कड फॉर इट, बिकॉज एंकरेजमेंट में जो है उसको नथिंग वॉज देयर। ही हैड द इंस्ट्रूमेंट, मटेरियल, आइडिया था, लेकिन ही डिड नॉट हैव द मटेरियल, ही डिड नॉट हैव दैट वर्कलोड। उसको तो बस सबको एंकरेज कर रहे थे, काम ले रहे थे। And happy that we were able to do this, and it was the great idea that has survived. And thankful to my family members, and I am thankful to God, because Amjad bhai ko malum hai, when we putting the lines, patient were already COVID positive, हमको भी मालूम है, we are putting the oxygen cylinder, हम ही लगा रहे, and we were not able to protect ourselves. The situation was somebody is coming in the truck, आपका हाथ लग रहा, पैर लग रहा, गाड़ी लग रही. We were able to see one of the patient came and no family member was touching. जब वो व्हील चेयर पे बिठाए, उसके पैर ऐसा घसलेते जा रहे, बिकॉज नो बडी वॉज टचिंग, एंड वो उसको लेके जाना है. देन वी वेंट, उसके फैमिली मेम्बर दूर से ठहर के, दे वर नॉट कि नहीं भाई आप लेके जाओ, इनको कैसा भी लेके जाओ, मेरे सामने से लेके जाओ, दे वर थिंकिंग. सो पैर उठा के व्हील चेयर पे सही रखना, लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस वी फेस्ड, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस आई थिंक वी वर एबल टू मेक लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस. While less oxygen cylinder, we were able to supply the continuation line of providing the oxygens to each and everyone at the hospital. That was important task, we have done it. And आप बोले जैसा, लेकिन what मेरे साथ I would like to share one story. अमजद भाई को भी मालूम है, लॉकडाउन में we were working together. रमज़ान का महीना था, so लॉकडाउन हो गया, तो वो ब्रेड बनाने वाला, पिज़्ज़ा बनाने वाला दुकान, दे आर द डेली वेजेस वर्कर्स एट द स्मॉल होटल्स एंड अदर थिंग्स. तो व्हाट वी वर डूइंग, वी वर कुकिंग द फूड एंड सर्विंग टू द पीपल. पैकेट्स बना के भेज रहे थे. वो पिज़्ज़ा वाला खाली है, अरे आज पिज़्ज़ा बना के जा, उसको 500 रुपये दिए. तो 46 years ऑफ माई लाइफ आई थिंक आई डिड नॉट ईट दच मच, वो रमज़ान में जितने वेराइटी खाया होगा. तो अब वो खाली बैठा हुआ है, उसको बुलाओ पिज़्ज़ा बनाओ, फिर उसको बुलाओ, एक दिन जो है बर्गर बनाने वाले को बुलाओ, एक दिन जो है फ्राइड राइस बनाने वाले को बुलाओ. सो गॉड है 30 days वी हैव 30 varieties. तो बिकॉज जनरली बनाना कुछ नहीं था, उन्हें खाली ही डिड नॉट हैव द मनी. तो अब वो हमारे पास में द प्रॉब्लम इज हमारे सोसाइटी एक बेसिकली वी लो सोसाइटी भी है. अदर दैन दैट वी लुक लाइक ए फैमिलीज. तुम्हारे घर में ज़रूरत है, तुम 10 डालो, तुम 10 डालो, सबके घर में पिज़्ज़ा सप्लाई उसको देना है. तो उसमें इट इज़ मेड अस टू बी क्लोजर. आई थिंक हाँ, नेसेसिटी वॉज द मदर ऑफ इन्वेंशन. और दूसरा जो है द थिंग व्हाट आई हैव लर्न इज़ दैट networking was one of the good thing. People came together, we don't know each other, so everybody was busy with that, and we worked together for the cause. Day before yesterday, just I was thinking of Ukraine mein those who were walking 600 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 400 kilometers because of the war. तो just वही imagine हो रहा था मेरे को, somebody वो तो वो वॉक कर रहा है, तो उसको कौन खाना दे रहा होगा. क्या हम यहाँ से खाना कुछ दे सकते क्या? समथिंग कैन बी डन फ्रॉम दिस साइड. तो फ्री राशन, बिकॉज वी वर थिंकिंग दैट हम लोग एक्सपर्ट हो गए हैं, सो वहाँ पर कुछ फ्री राशन दे सकते क्या, समथिंग कैन बी प्रोवाइडेड. सो I just Ukraine में I just 3 days back I was thinking. Now what you have said, a lot of pandemic. 3 days back I got the idea, the waste management, the syringes, the PPE kits, the mask. Already we had a problem with the plastics and other things. Now we have added the medical waste. which has not been disposed of correctly because of the pandemic. And I think what we have done is the vaccination, lot of syringes, so medical waste is another task. I think we are going to face. Mask, PPE kits, everybody was using and everybody was throwing. So wo has been added to the dump thing. There should be some system or procedure or processes. I don't know what should be there. But 3 days before, I was just thinking what the medical wastage we have added to already wastage what we have in our bags में जो already था, plastics and other things. इसमें we have added lot of medical wastage and other things. That can be a process of research and what the methods can be done. Some research scholars can be taken up, but nice experiences, nice learning, and I am thankful to my wife and children because at the end of the day शाम में उनके साथ ही जाके रहते थे, उनके साथ ही सोते थे. They did not. I know my wife and तुम्हार कोविड हुआ कुछ भी नहीं, साथ में सो जाओ, कुछ भी नहीं होता, कोई भी नहीं रहता. That was excellent because of that commitment from my wife and my children. It has given me lot of boost to me. वो लोग कभी मुझे नहीं छोड़े. They have not left me alone. They have supported me a lot. And मेरे ख्याल से पूरी ज़िंदगी में कोविड में हम दोनों अलग नहीं सोए. So that was the love for my family and my wife, and we should share that story because ऐसा वक्त हाँ तो वो बात but इसके सामने कुछ भी नहीं है बात. So that was because family were living, कोविड हो गया, छोड़ दिए. हम 15 दिन को जाते थे, टेस्ट कराते थे, नेगेटिव पर. In my office people used to call me super spreader. मेरे को पॉजिटिव नहीं रहता था लेकिन बाद वाले को पॉजिटिव रहता था. मेरे ऑफिस में 3 लोग बाद वाले मर गए. आई वॉज वर्किंग विद द कोविड एंड अदर थिंग बिकॉज आई वर्क विद द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ तेलंगाना फॉर तेलंगाना माइनॉरिटी रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल्स एज द एकेडमिक हेड. सो lot of contacts and other things we use. Sometimes I should not say that, but we use some of the government vehicles also with the siren and other things. Just as Sajjanar sir say, I am thankful to my boss B Shafiullah IFS. He has given his vehicle. भाई तुम जहाँ जाते because police stop कर रहा था. There were a lot of things and because it's a government vehicle, people will allow you to flow and go off to the places and other thing. गाड़ी रुकती नहीं थी. हम गांव को भी जाके लॉकडाउन में भी वापस आ रहे थे बिकॉज इट्स अ गवर्नमेंट व्हीकल वाज देयर वाज अ सायरन एंड एवरीथिंग वाज देयर. सो पीपल कहीं भी रोकते नहीं थे. तो वी वर एबल टू मूव फ्रीली बिकॉज ऑफ माई बॉस व्हीकल. वी वर यूजिंग इट. लॉकडाउन में गवर्नमेंट व्हीकल को यूज़ करें बट डोंट रिकॉर्ड एंड शेयर दैट. सो इट्स टोटली unethical, but just I am sharing for you. You should never share these stories, but how people have come forward and done each and every thing was important and dot to be connected. Then only we were able to do it what we have done it. So it's not about we have done it, but there are lot of small dots has there. Because of that only we are able to share our stories. Otherwise, I think we were not able to share our stories. And thankful to all the sanitation workers, the people, excellent. वो लोग जो job करे हैं, nobody has done that job. I think because we were not able to provide them what we have to provide them, but their services are remarkable. We were thankful to each and everyone, and let's connect for all the causes. It's not about the COVID and other thing. Let's unite together. Maybe tomorrow it is going to be some other thing. Day after tomorrow it is going to be some other thing. Life is going to change drastically. जो टीवी है मेरे वालिद साहब, मैं घर में यही बोलता हूँ, जो टीवी मेरे वालिद साहब खरीदे थे 20 साल चला, मेरा टीवी साल भर भी नहीं चल रहा, मेरा मोबाइल फ़ोन भी साल भर नहीं चल रहा. So there is very short lifespan, and the behavioral changes and the things are changing differently. It's not a longer period of time. You are going to see that this is going to run for next 20 years or 30 years. It is going to be maybe day after tomorrow we will have some other problem. Day after 1 month we may have some other problems. Problems is going to be there, but we can come out because without of good people coming together and working for the cause is the main important thing. As a human being, we have united, and hoping that future also we will be united, and maybe any other task we are ready for it and we can deliver it. That's the confidence we got it. जब कुछ नहीं था तो कुछ करे, अब तो कुछ है तो कुछ और कर सकते हैं. So with these few words I would like to thank you.
I thought Latif bhai was actually very good at distributing oxygen. It turned out to be very good at distributing credit. ऊपर गॉड से लेके नीचे फिटर तक सबको क्रेडिट पहुंचा दिए हैं. Great, thank you so much. Raj, after Raj, you have something to do, right? Great.
Thank you. This is very bright. Yeah. नमस्ते. I'll keep it very short. काफ़ी सारे स्टोरीज सुने हैं तो मैं रिपीट नहीं करूँगा. बहुत लकी हूँ मैं, यहाँ पे काफ़ी सारे लोगों से काम किया हूँ मैं, और मुझे पेसिमिज़म से भी ज़्यादा कोई नेगेटिव वर्ड है तो वो मैंने सीखा है लास्ट 2 इयर्स में. बिकॉज़ मेरा काम होता है गवर्नमेंट के साथ, मेरा काम होता है NGOs के साथ, मेरा काम होता है CSR कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ के साथ, काम होता है थोड़ा सेलिब्रिटीज़ के साथ. एंड मैं बिफोर आई स्टार्ट एक क्विकली देखना चाहूँगा यहाँ पे कौन कौन NGOs, एक्टिविस्ट, सिविल सोसाइटी से नहीं है. अच्छा, रीज़नेबल लोग थोड़े हैं यहाँ पे, ठीक है, थैंक्स. सो मैं ये पूछ रहा था ताकि पर्सपेक्टिव जो रखना चाहता हूँ मैं वो NGOs का नहीं रखना चाहता हूँ यहाँ पे. आप सबको पता है स्टोरीज, आप सबको पता है कि पुलिस की लाठी परमिशन से पहले आती है टू फ्लाई ऑन द रोड. सो वो मैं नहीं रखूँगा अभी, लेकिन जो अंदर की बातें वो रखना चाहता हूँ. कुछ स्टोरीज़, 1-2 छोटे छोटे स्टोरीज़ बताना चाहता हूँ जहाँ पे पता चलेगा कि लोग जो रास्ते पे काम करते हैं, एक्टिविस्ट, सारे लोग जो भी डायरेक्टली काम करते हैं उसके पीछे क्या होता है, गवर्नमेंट में क्या होता है, पुलिस में क्या होता है, मीडिया में क्या होता है. ये बहुत सारा एक्सपीरियंसेस है जो मैं काफ़ी जगह पे नहीं बोल सकता हूँ ऑन टाइम. आफ्टर टाइम मैं बोल देता हूँ और देन मैं बैन हो जाता हूँ काफ़ी जगह से. तो टी-सिग जो बोलते रहते, पैंडमिक के टाइम पे भी कुछ लोग फ्रस्ट्रेशन में मेरे को पूछते थे ఏంట్రా ఇది టీ-సిగ్ అసలు ఏంటి ఈ సిగ్ ఏంటి టీ-సిగ్ ఏంటి, వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్ తెలంగాణ సోషల్ ఇంపాక్ట్ గ్రూప్ అని. इट्स अ 3-year-old project. It's a project under Surge Impact Foundation जो मेरा एक नॉन प्रॉफिट है. तो द प्रोजेक्ट्स एम इज़ टू इम्प्रूव द क्वांटिटी एंड क्वालिटी ऑफ CSR इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द स्टेट ऑफ तेलंगाना. तो हमारा जॉब है कि सारे कंपनीज़ को पकड़ पकड़ के उनसे अच्छा CSR काम कराए और उनको हेल्प करे और रीज़न ना दे कि वाई दे शुडंट डू गुड वर्क. तो गवर्नमेंट के परमिशंस हैं, अच्छे NGO के प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. तो ये करने से हमारा क्या हो गया, 200 से ज़्यादा कॉर्पोरेट्स के साथ रिलेशन बन गया, 250 से ज़्यादा NGOs के साथ रिलेशन बन गया. उसमें बहुत सारे एक्टिविस्ट, सिविल सोसाइटीज़, इंडिविजुअल्स भी आते हैं और कुछ सेलिब्रिटीज़ भी जो चैरिटी करते हैं अपने फैमिली फाउंडेशन से. तो इसके लिए मैं यहाँ पे हूँ. अभी जो मैं बात कर रहा हूँ ये सब वो नेटवर्क का इफ़ेक्ट है. तो ये जो भी मैं काम बता रहा हूँ, विकास, सारे आपके सारे नाम, खालिद भाई, ये आपने किया हुआ काम है. लेकिन एक तरीके के समरी, जैसे विकास बोल रहे थे, एक न्यूक्लियस जैसे काम करता है टी-सिग, और मोस्टली हम पीछे काम करते हैं बैकग्राउंड में. तो वो क्या होता है, तो जस्ट लॉकडाउन जैसे शुरू हुआ था 2 तरीके के कॉल्स आए थे मेरे को इमीडिएट लॉकडाउन के अनाउंसमेंट. एक था दोस्तों के से कि 2 क्रेट बियर के आ गए हमारे घर पे, आज अब पार्टी करते हैं. ठीक है, बीरा का 2 क्रेट आ गया था, बहुत मार्केट में नहीं है, चल अब पार्टी शुरू करना है, तैयार होके आज रात को, सेम अपार्टमेंट. दूसरा आया था कॉल, मैं नाम नहीं लूँगा, काफ़ी लोगों का, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सन इन द गवर्नमेंट, कि राज बहुत सारा CSR को इकट्ठा करना पड़ेगा, काम शुरू करो. समझा, 2 भी नहीं समझा मेरे को, सो गया मैं. सुबह 7 बजे एक कलेक्टर का कॉल आया कि खाना नहीं है राज, खाना भेजो. एंड आई लाइक हेलो, हु इज़ दिस. तो तब पता चला कलेक्टर है. एंड बोले कि हमारे रेशन शॉप्स तो नहीं खोल सकते हैं और हमें सुबह सुबह काफ़ी सारे कॉरपोरेटर्स, तहसीलदार, सिटी में भी सारे लोगों का कॉल सारे, खाना नहीं है, खाना भेजो. तो उसके बाद वो मेरा फ़ोन 24/7 कॉल सेंटर बन गया. गुजरात से कॉल आया, खाना भेजो, आसाम से कॉल आया, खाना भेजो, पता नहीं कौन कब कर रहा है, और मैंने किसी को नंबर नहीं दिया था. तो CSRs का कॉल आना शुरू हुआ, कॉर्पोरेट लीडर्स, कुछ लोगों का कॉल्स आना शुरू हुआ कि हमें पैसे देना है, कहाँ पे दे. सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन था क्या करे, क्या हम लोग बड़े कंपनी है, हमारा किचन भी खोल सकते हैं, खाना दे क्या. तो स्टार्टिंग में मैं बोला पता नहीं क्या करना है, मैं NGO सबसे पूछ के बताता हूँ. तो इमीडिएटली आई स्टार्टेड आस्किंग क्या है क्या है. तो तभी इमीडिएट फूड, वो पैक्ड फूड, तो तभी तो अच्छा लगा, सब लोग ने हज़ारों क्वांटिटीज़ में। और यहाँ पे मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, मैंने आरएसएस के वॉलंटियर से लेके एनएपीएम के वॉलंटियर्स तक सारे साथ में काम किए थे हमारे साथ। कांग्रेस के कॉरपोरेटर्स, टीआरएस के कॉरपोरेटर्स सारे साथ में काम किए थे। थोड़ा बहुत कम्युनिकेशन कोऑर्डिनेशन में इश्यूज था, बट सारों ने किया था काम, और मेरे पास सारे प्रूफ है कि सब ने काम किया था। तो इनसे पूछा तो बोले हाँ पैक्ड फूड का तो है, खाना नहीं है डायरेक्ट। ये तभी अच्छा लगा, 20 दिन बाद अच्छा नहीं लगा क्योंकि सब लोग सांभर राइस ही दे रहे थे। तो सब फिर से झगड़ रहा था, बंद करो ये सब, बंद करो ये किचन, नहीं कितना सांभर राइस दोगे तुम लोग, घर पे रोज़ सांभर राइस ही खाते हो क्या? तो ये झगड़ा चलते रहता है हमारा सीएसआर के साथ। लेकिन जिन्होंने सीएसआर फंडिंग रेज किया उनको पता है 6 महीना लगता है कभी कभी एक प्रपोजल लिख के फंडिंग आने तक। यहाँ पे हमने एक ईमेल भेजा, 2 घंटे में पैसे आ गए थे। तो करीब ये 2-3 महीने में हमारे अकाउंट में 12 करोड़ आए थे। दूसरों के अकाउंट में कितना आए थे पता नहीं, वो हमने डायरेक्ट चैनलाइज किया था काफ़ी सारे। तो हम एक्चुअली सीएसआर का हमारा जो काम रहता है वो कनेक्ट द डॉट्स का काम रहता है, हम एग्जीक्यूशन नहीं करते हैं, वो हमारा स्ट्रेंथ है ही नहीं, अभी भी नहीं है। लेकिन यहाँ पे ज़रूरत था कि आप थोड़ा फील्ड पे जाए, थोड़ा काम करे खुद से, क्योंकि जल्दी से टर्न अराउंड चाहिए था काम। तो वॉलंटियर्स भी, द फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम वाज द वॉलंटियर्स के लिए परमिशन। तो मुझे याद है गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में बैठता था मैं, मैडम सर हमारे 750 वॉलंटियर्स है, इनको सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए। तो 8-8 घंटा बैठो वहाँ पे, मैडम सर बिज़ी है मीटिंग में, तो वो वॉलंटियर पास निकाल, वो मुझे वॉलंटियर पास के रिक्वेस्ट अलग अलग एनजीओ से आते थे। तो ये 8-8 घंटा बैठने का मेरा टीम पूरा बैठता था अलग अलग ऑफिस में। डिज़ास्टर रिस्पॉन्स, डिज़ास्टर मैकेनिज़म्स, स्टेट सारे अथॉरिटीज़ सबके साथ बैठते थे, पुलिस के साथ बैठते थे। काफ़ी बार मैं कॉन्फ्रेंस कॉल में पुलिस के एक स्टेशन से दूसरे स्टेशन को कॉन्फ्रेंस कॉल में लेता था, बिकॉज दोनों सेम बंदे को खाना दे रहे, ठीक है। तो और एनजीओज भी उसी को खाना दे रहे, तो सबको कॉन्फ्रेंस ले में बात करो एक दूसरे से जाने से पहले, एक को ही खिला रहे हो। तो पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स, बहुत सारे लोग जो मैं पॉलिटिशियंस के साथ थोड़ा काम करता हूँ, उनके फ़ोन स्विच ऑफ हो गए थे। बैन हो जाएगा, बंजारा हिल से भी बैन। एक स्टोरी है छोटा सा, एक सीनैया फ्रॉम मना नलगोंडा। सीनैया वाराणसी को जाते हैं पूजा करने के लिए, और लॉकडाउन हो जाता है। ये हमें टुवर्ड्स द 2nd मंथ में पता चला था। मैंने एक बस भेजा था, वो बस वाराणसी से होके चला गया, और एक पुलिस ऑफिसर ने मेरा नंबर, जो हर एक बस में मेरा नंबर रहता था वो पुलिस के नंबर के बाद, तो कॉल किया था कि सर आप बसेस भेज रहे हैं तेलंगाना से, ये आपका एक है यहाँ पे एक पर्सन, उसको लेके जाइए करके। तो बोला ठीक है, कौन है, बात कराइए एंड ऑल दैट। बात किया तो सीनैया ओल्ड मैन, बार्बर, सैलून चलाते थे, पूजा के लिए गए, फ़ोन में पैसे नहीं, पैसे कैश जो भी लेके गए ख़त्म हो गए। नलगोंडा में उनके बेटे पूरा मतलब यंग बच्चे थे, उनको पता नहीं क्या करना है, पापा कब वापस आएंगे, पता पापा कहाँ पे है नहीं पता है, तो अभी उनको वापस लेकर आना है। तो मैं अभी ये बोल सकता हूँ कि वो टाइम पे तो ऑफकोर्स पूरा सीक्रेट मिशन, अंडर कवर मिशन, अभी वापस आ नहीं सकते, किसी को ऑन गोइंग ही नहीं जा सकते। हर एक स्टेट बॉर्डर से मेरे को कॉल आता था, ये सर ये क्या बस है। सो मैं स्टार्ट करता था, जय हिंद साहब कमिश्नर ऑफिस से बोल रहे हैं, तो छोड़ देते थे। पता नहीं कौन कमिश्नर है, कौन पुलिस है, कौन जनगम है, हर जगह पे पुलिस ऑफिसर बन गए थे हम लोग। तो रिटर्न ये सीनैया को हमने बस में छुपा के हर एक बॉर्डर से क्रॉस करते करते लेकर आए थे नलगोंडा से, यहाँ पे लेकर आके नलगोंडा भेजे थे। तो ऐसे काफ़ी सारे छोटे छोटे स्टोरीज है जो कभी शायद पता नहीं कितने दिन मेमोरी रहेगा। कोविड के वजह से तो इतना बर्नआउट हुए थे लाइफ में कि वो थेरेपी भी लेना पड़ा बाद में, बट फिर से करेंगे, ये काम करेंगे, गुस्से से करेंगे और ज़्यादा गुस्से से करेंगे। काम करते हुए ग्रेटफुल रहेंगे किसी को, एक्सेप्ट नॉन प्रॉफिट्स एंड सिविल सोसाइटीज़, नोबडी। जो 3 चीज़ मिसिंग थे स्टार्टिंग में, वो था कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन एजेंसीज। किसी को, हमें लगता था एनजीओज़ को कन्फ्यूजन चल रहा है किधर जाए क्या काम करें। मैं बताता हूँ किसी को नहीं पता था, ना गवर्नमेंट को पता था, ना मीडिया को पता था, किसी को नहीं पता था कि कौन किसके साथ काम कर रहा है, क्या हो रहा है। ट्रस्ट चला गया था लोगों से। जो पुलिस के, जो हम ऑब्वियसली पुलिस बहुत सारा काम कर रहा था और बहुत सारा कंप्लेंट्स भी आ रहे थे, तो ये ट्रस्ट चला गया था। इमीडिएट रिस्पॉन्स ओनली एनजीओ पार्टनर्स, ओनली ये कार्यकर्ता जो हम लोग ने, और ये जितने भी, मुझे लगता है कि पॉलिटिक्स में ना जो भी जीतता है ना वो फ़ोन स्विच ऑफ हो जाता है, जो भी हारता है ना वो काम करता है, सो सबको हराओ, यू नो। तो जो भी हारे हुए कार्यकर्ता सब रोड पे थे, सब काम कर रहे थे हर एक पार्टी से। तो एक 35 लाख लोगों को पहुँचे थे फूड 2 महीने तक। नंबर्स काफ़ी सारे याद नहीं है मुझे, हमारे पूरे रिपोर्ट्स surgeimpact.org पे है। हमने रमज़ान के टाइम वो अन्नपूर्णा सेंटर्स, आई एम फ़ैन ऑफ इट, उनको भी हमने फंडिंग दिलाया है, लेकिन उनका टाइमिंग सूट नहीं होता है फास्टिंग से। सो आदाब नमस्ते किचन्स हमने शुरू किए थे, 4 खुद से शुरू किए थे, 2 और पार्टनर्स को फंडिंग दिलाए थे। रात को हम कुकिंग करते थे और 5-6 बजे से पहले ख़त्म हो जाता था। सब कम्युनिटी वहीं पे लोग आते थे, वही कुक करते थे, वही खाना खाते थे। तो ये भी हुआ रात को 3 बजे क्राइम ब्यूरो से कॉल्स, जनगम कौन है, एंड हम लाइक हाँ हम लोग खाना पका रहे हैं, हम लोग मतलब ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल मेकिंग फूड, इट्स नॉट अ रेस्टोरेंट, खाना बना रहे खा रहे, आपको क्या दिक्कत है? नहीं, क्राइम ब्यूरो से आप आ जाओ, बात करो, ये क्या चल रहा है, ये सब बंद करो, तोड़ देंगे ये सब। तो वो सब चलता था। हाँ तो हाँ हमने वो सब किया है। और मैं चुप नहीं रहता, 3 बजे मैं भी सबको कॉल करता था, जो भी गवर्नमेंट में सारे सेक्रेटरीज सबको कॉल करते थे। तो ये था। और फर्स्ट वेव में ये था, तो हमने सब किया है कि कुक्ड फूड, रेशन शॉप्स। मैं सनत नगर जाता था, FCI फूड कॉरपोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया, बाहर जब रास्ते पे लोग, मादापुर पुलिस स्टेशन के बाहर लोग रास्ते पे बैठे रहते थे भूखे, सनत नगर में जाके मतलब गर्दन दुखता है ऊपर देख के, वो राइस और गेहूं के, वो अंदर वॉक करते थे रोते हुए। और वो भी इंजीनियर्स वहाँ पे भी जो थे, वो भी सर पता नहीं क्या करे, कैसे निकाले ये। तो एक ऑर्डर हमारा 130 टन्स का ऑर्डर रहता था, मेट्रिक टन्स का, जो गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू, पॉलिटिशियंस के थ्रू, NGOs के थ्रू हम ढकेलते थे। तो ये हाँ जो एट दैट टाइम, एंड ये थोड़े बहुत जो मुझे डिस्टर्ब करने वाले चीज़ें हैं ना, वो टाइम पे जब ये सब कर रहा था तो कुछ रेशन शॉप, कुछ लोगों का कॉल्स आता था, राज भाई आप ये सब कर रहे हो, हमारे से भी खरीद रही है, कुछ देख लेंगे। क्या चल क्या रहा है तुम लोग का? हाँ, ये डोनेशन का पैसा, वो भूखा पड़ा है और तू यहाँ पे धंधा कर रहा है, चाहिए फेयर प्राइस मांग ले, ये सब क्या चल रहा है? ये भी चलता है अपने NGOs में, कॉरपोरेट्स में, सब जगह चलता है, ताली हर हाथ से बजती है। तो ये सब भी देखने मिलता है। और छोटा स्टोरी और एक श्रमिक ट्रेन जब शुरू हुए थे, वही खाना वाना नहीं था, तो वहाँ पे काफ़ी सारे एजेंसीज थे, हमने देखा रहेगा, CM के ऑफिस के लोग थे, GHMC के लोग थे, पुलिस था। रात को ये अंडरग्राउंड ऑपरेशन चल रहा, TSRTC ऐसे गली गली में जाके लोगों को निकाल के, लेबर अड्डा से निकाल के चुपचाप जाके ट्रेन में बिठाने का, वो सब काम। तो उधर भी थे, किडनैप करते थे हम लोग लेबर को, तो उधर वो भी किया था। और वो जब एक था पहले दिन जो हम डाल रहे थे खाना, पैकेट्स, मौसम्बी सब डाल रहे थे, मुझे लग रहा था ऑब्वियसली कोई ले भी रहा होगा, कोई मतलब थोड़ा बहुत पिल्फरेज, लीकेज हो रहा होगा। मेरा एक वॉलंटियर आके बोलते हैं, राज वहाँ पे एक वैन खड़ा है, जो हम यहाँ से डाल रहे हैं वो वैन वहाँ पे भर रहा है। तो मेरा ये था, यार लेना है, कितना खाएगा तू, वैन क्यों भर रहा है, और ये गवर्नमेंट का ही बंदा है, वैन क्यों भर रहा है? तो वहाँ पे कंप्लेन करो, वहाँ पे झगड़ा करो, फिर से वहाँ पे धमकी वो सब करो कि आप पता नहीं कौन है। मैं बोला नहीं पता करना है मेरे को कौन है। सो ये सब चीज़ें। एंड देन एक बार ये ऐसा हुआ कि, और पता है ना, पैंट्री नहीं था और कोचेस के बीच में कनेक्शन नहीं था, ये लोग 2-3 दिन एक डब्बे में बैठ के जाने वाले लोग थे ना। तो एक बंदा आता है, हमें जॉइंट कलेक्टर के साथ हूँ मैं वहाँ पे, वो मतलब ऐसे लग रहा था भूत देख के आया है, और चिल्ला रहा है कि भाई हमारे प्लीज़ पानी दो, कोई तो पानी दो, ट्रेन निकलने वाली है, पानी नहीं है, कुछ खाना नहीं है। तो हम लोग देख रहे हैं, अरे ये तो, हम लोग तो चुपचाप आराम से खड़े कि सब हो गया, सब लोड हो गया, ये ट्रेन को जाने दो करके। तभी पता चलता पूरा डब्बा से लोग चिल्ला रहे, एक भी नहीं है, पानी का बॉटल नहीं है, खाना नहीं है। कलेक्टर साहब, मैं और जितने भी वॉलंटियर्स हैं लिटरली चिल्लाते हम लोग, भागो करके। ट्रेन चल पड़ी, भाग रहे सब लोग, और जो खाना दिखा वो फेंक रहे अंदर। और तभी थोड़ी देर बाद में भागे तो दिख रहा है वो जो भी वाटर बॉटल जैसे पैकेट्स है ना, उसके ऊपर एक ऑफिशियल सो रहा है प्लेटफॉर्म पे। तो ये कलेक्टर जाके उसको लात मारता है, वो उठता है, वो किधर पता नहीं, सब लोग उसको फिर से फेंको। ये होता है क्या काम करने का तरीका? ये तरीका होता है? हम लोग क्या मार्स भेज रहे हैं, डब्बे में खाना नहीं डाल सकते हम लोग? तो ये होता है। हाँ, डोनर्स बोलते हैं कि ये कैसे हम लोग काम हो रहा है कि नहीं, हमें पता करना है। हम बोलते हैं आ जाओ देखो, आप भी भागो दौड़ो रात को 2:30 बजे। तो बाद में कुछ लोगों को इमरजेंसीज की वजह से एरोप्लेन में भी डालना पड़ा। तो ऑब्वियसली पूरा बोर्डिंग से लेके सब कुछ। सेकेंड में हमने हेल्पलाइन चलाया था, हम लोग ही थे जो पीछे स्टेट कमांड सेंटर लॉन्च करने में हेल्प किए थे, जो KTR साहब ने इनॉग्रेट किया था। हेल्पलाइन हमने लॉन्च किया था इसलिए कि हम जो भी रिसोर्सेज आते थे ना, हम लोग ये नहीं बोलते थे इधर जाके देखो, जो इसको चाहिए वो हम लोग पता करके एग्जैक्ट जो अवेलेबल है, क्योंकि सारे नंबर्स थे सबके साथ, गूगल सर्च मारा तो सब आ रहा था, लेकिन एक्चुअली क्या अवेलेबल है तो वो सब हम कर रहे थे। जैसे खालिद भाई ने बोला, वो पूरा अपना MCF मिडिल क्लास फंड उनसे इंस्पायर्ड था, पूरा जो विजय देवरकोंडा ने और दूसरे सेलिब्रिटीज़ ने किया वो मॉडल्स अडॉप्ट किए। ये टाइम पे फेक न्यूज़ के लिए सेपरेट टीम था, फेक न्यूज़ के लिए टैकल करने के लिए, वॉलंटियर्स मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए सेपरेट टीम था हमारा, रूबरू एंड ऑल दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, हम मेंटल हेल्थ काउंसलिंग करते थे, मतलब मोस्टली तो रोते थे सब लोग, बहुत सारा काम होता था। व्हाट्सएप नेटवर्क बन गया था। इंडिविजुअल डोनर्स काफ़ी सारे NRIs कॉल किए थे, और NRIs ने साथ में आके वो एक एक छोटा छोटा चंदा वसूल करके वो लोग भी पैसे भेजते थे, तो वो डायरेक्टली अलग अलग NGOs को, FCRA जो है उनको भेजो, ये सब कोऑर्डिनेशन होता था। हमने एक बार अनंत को पता है ऐसे टाइम पास के लिए एक हेल्पलाइन का लिस्ट बनाया था, कितने हेल्पलाइन है, और 24-27 हेल्पलाइन पहुँचे थे। द होल पॉइंट ऑफ हेल्पलाइन इज़ वन हेल्पलाइन दैट यू हैव टू कॉल। सो गवर्नमेंट के 25-26 थे, और हाँ ये बोला गया था मुझे, एक्सेसिबिलिटी मीन्स मोर वर्क, तो दैट्स द लेसन। शेल्टर होम्स को, स्टेट रन शेल्टर होम से 70-80 थे, सारों को हमने CSR के थ्रू फंडिंग वो सब दिया था। वो तो भूल चुके थे लोग, काफ़ी सारे शेल्टर होम्स रहे भी, वो भी खाना खाते हैं। एक प्रोजेक्ट आश्रय करके शुरू करवाया था हमने, एक इमरजेंसी फाइनल स्टेज कोविड सेंटर डन। सो ये सब थे बहुत सारे। और कोविड कमांड सेंटर के लिए एर्नाकुलम, मुंबई मॉडल्स उनके गवर्नमेंट नीति आयोग से भी लाइजन किए थे वो टाइम पे। काफ़ी सारा टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप हुआ, वो लास्ट तक आया, वो हम डे 1 से चाहते थे। एंड में सिर्फ ये कहना चाहूँगा कि अभी भी हमें एक इमरजेंसी ऑपरेशन सेंटर की ज़रूरत है ये स्टेट में। इट्स नॉट अबाउट द पैंडमिक, इट्स अबाउट डिज़ास्टर प्रिपेयर्डनेस। हम वॉर टाइम पे नहीं प्रिपेयर करते डिज़ास्टर, पीस टाइम पे प्रिपेयर करते। ये सिंपल सा फंडा हम काफ़ी ढूंढ रहे हैं। लोग को जब तक सामने कोई गिरते हुए नहीं दिखता है, फंडिंग नहीं करना है, किसी को एक्शन नहीं लेना है, तो वो एक है। एंड लास्टली ये तो अभी भी मुझे लगता है कि अगर फिजिकल नहीं तो वर्चुअल एटलीस्ट एक नेटवर्क, जो डिज़ास्टर प्रोटोकॉल्स, एरिया वाइज प्रोटोकॉल, काफ़ी सारे NGOs एक ही जगह पे डोनेशन कर रहे थे, डुप्लीकेशन हो रहा था, मिसिंग आउट हो रहा था, तो आनंद जी और बाकी सारे लोग हम कोशिश किए थे। तो वो अभी भी वक्त है, फ्लड्स में भी सेम इशू होते हैं, फायर्स में सेम होते हैं, तो वो हमें करना चाहिए। और लास्टली मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा, थोड़ा अनसेटलिंग, बट हमें जब हीरोज़ दिखते हैं ना अपने बीच में, वो हीरोज़ वैसे होप का सिंबल मानते हैं, बट हीरोज़ का मतलब है कि हम फेल हो चुके हैं। तो हमें हीरोज़ की ज़रूरत नहीं है, अच्छे स्ट्रक्चर की ज़रूरत है। अगर अच्छा स्ट्रक्चर है ना तो विलन ही नहीं है, तो हीरो काय का, तो हीरो नहीं बनते, साथ में काम करते हैं। चलो,
थैंक्स राज। Harsha, quickly, 2 minutes. Really nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for staying back. I actually wanted to tell the stories and what we have done. I think Vikas has pretty much summarized it. I'll tell you why I have done. So during, like, this was never revealed it has been almost 1 year since we have started COVID War Room. A lot of people asked, are you from our NGO groups? I used to say yes. Are you from our corporate world? I used to say yes. People used to call me from TDP office, Congress office. Chandrababu Naidu has posted about me on a LinkedIn post. So you're from TDP, right? I used to say yes. Today I'm revealing I'm no one. I run a software company. I'm just a common man. And I lost my father in first wave of COVID. He was on ECMO for 35 days. None of them know. Like, there is a 700-member team in COVID War Room. None of them know this story. The reason why I didn't tell them the story is people will think, okay, something happened in his personal life because of which he has started this. I didn't want them to give a reason. It should be normal. It's okay. You need not get anything in return. You can just help. It's easy, it's simple. Like, you're a human, you drink water, you eat food, you're a human, so you have emotion, you help. Which is where we started. Just spend 15 minutes. People were spending 12 hours, 14 hours. It won't be sustainable. Spend only 15 minutes, chill. Spend 15 minutes, you read newspaper, pick up a call, help someone connect with a blood group, Someone connect with the food, someone connect with plasma, whatever help comes to you. I started off like that because when I was with my father, I leave with this line. When I was with my father during the ECMO, he needed 26 units of blood. And whenever I used to post it as WhatsApp status, people used to just send me saying, hey, search on friends2support.org. Or here is a list of 25 members. There is a common forwarded message which everybody used to forward. Here is a 25 member list, you'll get it. None of those numbers work. See, my time is very limited. I used to sit there and search and call all those numbers. And 1 out of 20-25 calls used to come and visit. My friends were like, they had a normal life. They used to go to marriages. First wave, people were not even aware of what was happening. If only they would have spent more time, instead of me connecting me to these donors, I would have spent much more time with my father. So that was the whole agenda of COVID War Room. I said, take the mental, because I don't have any emotional connect, right? Some patient attendant will have a lot of emotional bandwidth, like he can't go and call blood donors. I'm sitting freely at home. So I just put up an Instagram post saying, hey, I will call on behalf of patient's attendant, that's all. If you're an attendant, just reach out to me. I'll respond back to you only when the help is received. I do all the calls, only if the visitor is coming, donor is there ready at the gate, then I'll call you. Till then, no more calls. I started off as one. Within 2 days, there were 4 or 5 people. Like there was a security guard from Dubai who used to help entering into Excel sheets and all. Within 4 days, it went into a 750 member team. I'm from IIIT Hyderabad. So all my friends who were working in Facebook, Google, everybody joined in. We built out a Slack integration system. It was like a corporate company. Within 2-3 days, in the nights, all the people from US used to work. Everybody from India used to work in the morning. And they used to spend just 15 minutes. But we gave close to 25,000 vaccinations, 1,500 emergency cases, funded more than 4 crore INR. But yeah, the only revealing which I wanted to do in this session is I'm a normal guy. I'm just a common man. And it's okay to help. You need not be part of any group. You can just help for 10 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Harsha. So, one last thing on the agenda. Kranti, Raja, they have something to give us. All the people who spoke. So please, all of the people who have spoken, please come here. They have bags that they want us to take. So please take the bags and take a photograph.